Hello, everybody. Nice to have everybody here, as usual. Let's just put this here. CPU loads perfect. I think we're gonna be okay. And it's pretty much okay. Hello there, everybody. How are you? And hope that everything's all right. So, hey, everybody, welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave radio show. We are Friday, of course. It's every Friday at 2000 hours Universal Time. And we're here to entertain, talk about radio, and hope that everybody will find it cool. And yeah, we'll continue a little bit the tour of the radios and tune the bands. I've got the SDR Play RSP1A up running. So if somebody's listening to something or hears something, we'll try to tune it here also. And as we are a few days away from Christmas, and today is the solstice, the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. And so this is the shortest day of the year in the northern hemisphere right now. Longest day of the year for the southern hemisphere. So kind of interesting that we are at this time. And 21st of December today. 2018 was a hell of a year. I'm still amazed at everything that happened this year, and hope that it just goes so fast. I just can't believe it. My name is Joe, and I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We are live, of course, every Fridays. We talk about radio. This is my temporary setup to show some of the radios that I have. But, of course, in the next show, we'll probably be back at the desk with the SDR and everything. Hope everybody's going to enjoy today's show, and hope you guys enjoy the Christmas special that we had last Saturday. And if you're wondering when the VHF UHF show is going to be, it's going to be on Saturday, December the 29th. So next Saturday. Tomorrow there's no show. It's my Saturday off. So we're going to be here tonight, Friday. Of course, I've got a beer. So my first one is a Maudit. It's a beer of the damned, basically. Just before Christmas. Ain't perfect. So cheers, everybody. Really cold. It's really good. Weather here is gray and raining. We had some freezing rain last night. But now it's, if I look at my thermometer, it's +6 Celsius. So that's like in the 40s. It's a little warmer than usual today, but we'll be back at regular temperatures. And it's pretty much official. We will not have a white Christmas in Montreal this year. The rain has melted all the snow. So there's like no snow left. And so, there's not going to be any snowfall. So we'll not have a white Christmas this year. And I was looking at statistics that were saying that in the past, since 1955, we had 15 Christmases that we didn't have snow. And the last one we didn't have snow is like 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. That was and it was really warm. I remember it was so warm, actually. We were like in the 60s. And I remember being outside. I was outside with some of the friends and family that were over for the Christmas Eve party. And we were in my backyard watching the stars. And I was just wearing the Santa suit because it was just warm outside. It was incredible that day. Now, this year it's going to be cooler. It's going to be winter temperatures, but we won't have any snow on the ground. So that's, year to year variation, I guess. Those that wonder, a Christmas without snow in Montreal is not a unusual event. I mean, most of the time we have snow, but not having snow at Christmas is not something that's exceptional also. That's for sure. So We'll say hi to the chat room. There's a nice chat room with beautiful people that are really, really great and amazing people from all around the world, which is always amazing. It's always something that surprises me, knowing that there are people from all over the world watching. I don't know. It's something really, really special. Sorry. So I'll say hi to Richard Cook. Nice to have you here. He was listening to Turkey in English on 6050. Bobby Burgess, and he's in the UK. Bobby Burgess from Morgan City, Louisiana. WA5107SWL is the call sign. Nice to have you here, Bobby. Nick Amendo from Romania. Nice to have you on board. Matambali, nice to have you here from Colorado. Pretty cool. We have Mark Cope. Nice to have you here. We have Sean Fahey. Nice to have you on board. Mark T. Nice to have you on board from Washington, USA. Puyallup. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. Puyallup, Washington. PLF Radio, bonjour, bienvenue, mon ami. Nice to have you on board from France. PLF Radio, Zachary Anto. Nice to have you on board. Fanny Xenakis. Nice to have you here. Bruce James. Nice to have you here. KB8 KAC, West Virginia. Jerry K. Nice to have you on board. Radio Telescope. Hello, my friend. Nice to have you here. NL13851 from the Netherlands. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Fanny Xenakis is in Denmark, and it's present solstice celebration today. We should have that. We don't have any solstice celebration here. I'm not aware of any. I mean, it's Christmas on Tuesday. I'm having my Christmas Eve party on Monday, the 24th, with friends and family. But I don't know. It'd be cool to have some kind of solstice celebration, fireworks or something. It'd be nice. Sakura DX, nice to have you on board from Japan. And I am absolutely well, my friend. Jack N9IIF, nice to have you here, my friend. Rock Ristorante, nice to have you here. Risto SM0SBT from Stockholm, Sweden. Arthur's Alley Crafter's Kitchen, nice to have you here at the office in Massachusetts. Michael Fuka, nice to have you here. PL 880 in Central Louisiana. Nice to have you here. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Andrew Ross, nice to have you on board. And Merry Christmas, absolutely. Pretty cool. And Mr. Cat, yes, of course, Mr. Cat. Mr. Cat is always happy. Christmas Eve is going to be full of people. And Paul the Cat is like that friendly cat that wants to see everybody. And everybody's always happy to see Mr. Paul. It's always kind of cool. Johnny the Xer, nice to have you on board, my friend. Pretty cool. Gérard Salvan. F1NNY. Bonjour, Gérard. Welcome aboard from France. Nice to have you here. So, well, no snow in Canada. Well, it's no snow here. It doesn't mean there's no snow in Canada, because Canada is like really big. It's like saying there's no snow in the U.S. But you know, it's irregular. It's Montreal. It's not unusual to not have snow in Montreal. Every few years we have a Christmas that has no snow, but pretty cool. Lots of echo. Anybody have echo? The only thing that's different is the fact that I'm positioned differently, because there shouldn't be that much echo actually. So Jerry K says global warming, and nice to have you here. So I guess we'll have to do with what we have to do. I just want to see if it's what I'm on the same microphone and everything. I don't know. We'll have to live with that for today. I guess it's the positioning maybe of how I am, because it's different, and I need to put a little bit of padding on the wall to kind of suppress the echo that could be on the live feed. Ivan, nice to have you here. Cholakov, nice to have you on board. Andrew Ross says, after your advice the other week, my Sony shortwave radio decided to start working. Obviously spurred on by the threat of being replaced. Instead, I have purchased a Uniden UBC 125 XLT to replace my scanner. Cool. Well, that's good news. You know, when a radio comes back to life, why not? Kind of cool. It's always mysterious, you know, when something stops working and comes back to life and you have no idea what happened because you didn't do anything. Simon Temar, nice to have you here. Merry Christmas. Pretty cool to have you on board. Bonjour, hi, Shelley Harvey in Greenfield Park, Quebec. It's really, you know, caught on, that Bonjour, hi thing. Every time I'm downtown, and especially on the Sundays, I'm downtown after the International Radio Report show. I go somewhere and it's like bonjour, hi everywhere. It's just nuts. It's, I don't know. I always think about Sheldon every time. Dana F. from Providence, Rhode Island. Nice to have you here, Mr. G. Nice to have you on board. Manny CV. Nice to have you here. Here it's mostly rainy. Not a lot of wind from what I see, but mostly rainy. Even Tinny, nice to have you on board from Texas. Jerry Weiscall. Jerry Weiscall. Nice to have you here from upstate New York. AC4BT. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What else is there? Bobby says in Louisiana you will be darned if there's snow. Yeah, I would guess you'll be darned if there's snow. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's nuts. Robert Prosper, nice to have you on board. And it's 60 degrees in DC. 15 Celsius. Pretty warm. Yeah, well, you know, we're having a warm push here. Usually when it's probably, you know, when we have warm weather coming up, usually it comes up from the US, so you guys usually have it more, you know, much more warm than we are here. What else do we have? What else do we have? Oh, Robert, yeah. Oh, man. So, Ronald Hessner, nice to have you here from North Carolina, USA. What else do we have? Paul Gibson, nice to have you here from Telford, UK, 2E1EQK. Fanny Xenakis, my grilling works, but there are a few stations I find toning the wrong frequencies, I suppose, but it's still a huge difference to when I was a child listening to the world. You know, I think that is one of the things that is unusual and very, very special. I'm going to check something out here because I just want to hear the echo by myself. I'll put the headphones on my phone and I'll stream it on my phone temporarily just to see. Sorry, guys. So we're back. So I just want to see how it is. Hopefully it's not too bad. Because I haven't changed anything. So I don't know where the echo's coming from. I'm just going to do a little something here. And see if the echo is that bad. And, okay, let's just find a stream over here. Just to check out on it. I'll be listening to the stream. Oh, this is really messed up. Okay. Let's give Sareka live. I am live apparently. And 1, 2. Oh, it is kind of weird look. It's very interesting. Why do I have an echo? This is so weird. I look like I'm in some kind of 1, 2. So here the volume, microphone is Realtek. I got nothing here. Wow, this is weird. I'm just gonna do a little test. I'm gonna stop and start again just for the fun of it. Okay, let's see. Should be off, and it should be back on. And here we go. Why do I have an echo like this? It's as if some effect is on. Wow. Let me just check this. It's as if the noise canceling. So that's a good microphone. Sorry about that, guys. I just manage sound devices, microphone here. That's okay. I do look like I'm some kind of, you know, I could be doing the Quran, the Holy Quran, like they do on the Saudi Arabia station, and I'd sound exactly the same as the guy doing it, like, you know, in the streets. Ay. Source settings, real tech. What is? This is bizarre. I'm just gonna go to the control panel. Control panel. Sound. Won't be long, guys. Properties. Okay, what about if I? Oh, so this is the audio output. Let's go to recording. Properties. Listen. Levels. One, two, three. Whoa. You gonna hear it? 1, 2, 3. I don't know why there's an echo. This is so weird. So weird. And there's actually a lot of noise. There's a background noise that's going on it, which is weird. This is so weird. This is so weird. I have to live with it because I don't know how to remove it. I don't know why it's there actually. I absolutely have no idea why the echo's here. So is it still okay? You guys can live with it. I'll continue like this. I guess we'll have to find why I've got an echo that I don't usually have, and hopefully it's as if the sound is coming back. It's so weird. This is so weird. Okay. Ray Kelly, nice to have you here from Nova Scotia. And what else do we have? Let's just go down. So Ray Kelly, nice to have you here. I should be speaking in Spanish or installing a drag race. I did put the mic gain down to see, and it doesn't change anything. It's so weird it's happening. I don't usually have this echo. So I'm going to have to test. I'm going to have to do some tests because it's very, very bizarre. Dave Todd, nice to have you here. As a Radio Shack Pro 2004 that comes back to life occasionally. They have a reputation for cold solder joints. I had my Pro 2006 replaced twice. I had purchased the Radio Shack Pro 2006 scanner, and it worked for about 2 weeks. And then it started, it had no sound, and the display was weird, displaying all weird characters. And I would turn it off. Then when I would turn it on, it would work 2 to 5 minutes, and they would do the same thing. I brought it back to Radio Shack. They sent it for repairs. It came back. It works fine for 2 days, and it started again. And I went back, they gave me a new one, and the new one out of the box was doing exactly the same thing. And I went back, and I finally had the one that was on demonstration because they didn't have any others in the box, and that one worked fine ever since. Never had a flaw or problem. So and one of the things that had been in the repairs was saying that there could be some cold solder joints in it. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. Madame Bali has VOA out of Greenville in French on 15730. Let me just try that out. 15730. I've got very weak over here, but I do usually have it on 12075. 12075 is good for sure. So, like I said, there was a lot of stations that were gone from the long time ago. Anybody that listens to shortwave today, I think the first thing they'll notice is how very quiet the bands are compared to what there was before. But it's there's still some stuff to listen to, and we got to be careful not to go down to the to despair, because I enjoy my listening. Yesterday afternoon I was doing some YouTube videos, and one of the things I was doing is actually was I was looking at let me try something here. I just had a thought about what could make an echo. I just want to see if the stereo mix isn't working. Just had a thought here. Stereo mix open. Stereo mix. Sound input device. No, only one. So, I don't know. It's so weird. So weird. It's so weird. Oh, well. So anyways, yeah, but yesterday afternoon I was listening. I listened to the Voice of America. I listened to China Radio. I listened to the Voice of Turkey. I listened to KBS World Radio from France in French, transmitted from the French transmitter site. There was Radio Romania. There was, what was there that I listened to? Listened to, of course, a lot of hams, but there's some stuff to listen to. That's for sure, for sure. Joe Sombra Nuance, nice to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? Yeah, video should be okay because I have a green bar, so it's supposed to be okay. Syria Dwello, nice to have you on board, my friend. Phoenix Zanakis. By the way, I was a totally nobody last week claiming I had a Grundig 6000. Must have mixed up my old dad's BO Graham 6000 turntable. It's a Grundig Satellite 700. Ah, okay. No problems. No sweat. No sweat. Yeah, do a call to the shortwave gods. What else do we have? As long as it's okay. Paul Gibson, nice to have you on board, my friend. And have a booming voice of God, the God of shortwave. Even that, if I proclaim myself God of shortwave, somebody's going to just send me a rant about, who do you think you are? And I am not. I am not. If I had to put a name on a God of shortwave, I think there are a few people that would have that title before I do. I can tell you that. Yeah, no, I have only one sound input because I did shut down all the inputs except the microphone one. The output is not there. Volume is off, so there's no reason for this to happen. It's as if internally the laptop has some kind of and stereo makes it shut down. I don't know. It's so weird. Anyways, JD, Merry Christmas. Nice to have you on board from Prince Edward Island. Calvin 29, nice to have you on board. Dan Robinson, Nice to have you on board for the first time. Pretty cool. And you're from the DC area. Pretty cool. Funny as like, is anyone listening to the 90 to 120 meter band? Do you used to have a lot of faraway stations? Well, far from Scandinavia, that is. I still have a few stations on the 90 meter band that come in from time to time. There's that South African one on 3320 that sometimes come in, Sounder Grins or something like that it's called. But, noise level below 60 meters is much more of a problem, especially here. It's getting difficult to really listen to anything. Robert Prosper says, 40 years ago, one of the big problems in listening to stations was selectivity. Too many stations bunch on top of each other. Absolutely, that was a big problem. Absolutely. Dana F, have you ever go to the Radio Garden website? I believe I went there a few times, but it's been a long, long time ago. Long time ago. Tony Perron, nice to have you on board. Cold and rainy Memphis. Is it that brother stare? Yeah, I wouldn't call him the god of shortwave. I'd call him the god of, anyways, I won't say. Let's stop it there. Mark Fisher, nice to have you here, my friend. Always cool to have you on board. Is this the usual setup, or is it coming from a undisclosed location? So this is my regular place. This is my office. It's just that for the last two shows, because I'm showing off my radio collection, I'm in a different spot within my office. Because usually we are on that side of the office with the big screen TV, and that's where the regular shows are normally. So, what else do we have? Dan Robinson, nice to have you here. Wondering, are you still using the Radio Shack digital audio unit? I have two here, and I've not yet gotten them hooked up to various receivers. Absolutely, it's part of my setup. If I use one of my tabletop receivers, I use the DSP-40 audio unit, because mostly the first reason mostly is the fact that it has a good audio amplifier, so it drives my realistic speaker well. But also there are some filtering that sometimes are useful, like narrowband audio filters, or even the notch. The auto notch is amazing. There's a little tone somewhere. It just auto notches the tone immediately, which is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So really, really nice. So Mark Fisher, nice to have you here, my friend. Andrew Ross, nice to have you here, says, my Sony ICF Shortwave 77 was performing very poorly and not at all on lower sideband. After leaving it plugged in for a day or two and mentioning it was going to be replaced, it started working properly. Sometimes there are some weird things that happen. There's a couple of my radios here that I've had that stopped working over time, and one of them I just left the batteries out for like a week, and I put the batteries back a week later, and suddenly everything's okay. It's really, really weird. So it's kind of weird. And the other one, it just started working again, and that's it. It's just weird. And when that happens, you're always kind of wondering, if it stopped working once, is it going to do it again? And could it do it at any time? Bill Fagan, nice to have you here. This is G7IUI. Heard what sounds like feedback on your transmission, not just an echo. Do you have a speaker or earphone connected? Nope. And the speaker disabled. So that's why I don't understand why there's a feedback going into it. I guess the only thing I could do would be to restart Windows, which would take like 2-3 minutes, and go back to the stream and all. But if it's manageable, we'll keep it like this, and we'll hopefully have a good enough sound that you can understand what I'm saying, pretty much. Arthur's Crafter's Kitchen. Can you talk about the DX100 behind you? I have its big brother, the DX200. That's a drift monster on SSV. Yeah, I was listening to Alex Jones. Look at that, 12160 right now. Low cost on contracts. Other distributors aren't able to do. But I want to be a market leader. I want you to have affordable food, so it's a total win-win. We have those incredible sell prices. So this is Alex Jones, 12160. I put it here because I wanted to show that this was my starter set. The DX100 general coverage receiver here is the first shortwave radio that I owned and that I knew what it was all about. Because the story behind this is before this radio, I didn't. I had multi-band radios that had shortwave on it, but I had no idea what I was doing, and I had no idea what SW1, SW2 meant. And all I would find is probably because the radio were bad. Because when I got this one, and this one isn't particularly good, anyways, but I had noticed one thing: this would pick up many more signals than the multi-band radios that we had in before, which probably tells me the multi-band radios were very crappy. But the multi-band radios did get weird sounds that I was like, what is that? You know? So basically, the when I got to this radio, which I got into in August of 1982, this opened the world. This made me understand what shortwave was all about. Thanks to the fact that the little manual that came with it, which wasn't that big, I mean, it was like I don't know, it had 10 pages, 12 pages. Didn't have that many pages, but it had all the information needed to understand how to operate a radio, what single sideband was all about, um, amateur radio, utility stations, stuff like that, international broadcast bands, where to listen to different things. It told the minimum requirement of information about, daytime, nighttime listening, and seasons. It was enough for me to understand the basics of what I was doing. And then with my intense use of the DX100, um, just started to discover the world and discover the stations. And back then there were so many stations, and this radio isn't particularly good in selectivity. And the stations back then were all jammed packed, very close, 5 kilohertz on each other. So it was kind of a challenge to listen to shortwave at this at the same time as it was fun. And so this is a general coverage receiver. It's an analog radio, has single sideband. It is, of course, a tabletop model from the time. I believe that in '82, I believe I paid $100 for it, and that was on sale because they were selling it like 150, I think. And so it goes. It has medium wave, short wave up to 30 megahertz in 4 bands from A to D. There is one called the, I believe it's the LW100 is the other, or the L. There's an L. It's DX100L, I believe, at the end, something like that. That is the same radio, but except of it has the Longwave band on it. I've seen that on the internet. I've never seen one myself, but I had seen one on the internet, and I believe it's DX100L, if I'm not mistaken, and it is with a Longwave. So this was what started my hobby, actually. This is what started everything. And there's even some old stickers from the time on it. If you look here, Radio France International, WRNO Worldwide, Radio Norway. I don't know if there's on the side. I think it's just put it on the top here. So a few stickers that I put on it. It's like, wow, I'm going to put the stickers of stations on top of the radio. And so this is what started all. This radio is the reason I'm here right now today doing these shows. Honestly, pretty much it. Because without that radio, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't do all of this. And maybe I would have missed out on what shortwave was all about and be one of those people in the street that basically have no idea what shortwave is all about. And that's it. So It's it's not when I compare it because obviously I knew nothing back then. So I got that. It was in the affordable range of what I could purchase in '82, and it was I found it kind of sexy for the time, and it's not a particularly good model. It doesn't perform well. It's not super sensitive, honestly. I realized that I missed a lot at the same time when I was using this. But the thing is, there were so many stations back then, and a lot of the signals were so strong that I didn't notice anything. It was perfect, and this was my main radio for the first, I'd say, the first year and a half, approximately. It was replaced about a year and a half later with a DX302 from Realistic, and that was purchased at a flea market. My dad had purchased the DX302 at a flea market because I had enough knowledge afterwards to understand, oh, this is very difficult to find a station where it is. And I mean, back then, interval signals were super important for me because this is so jam-packed and you don't have accurate tuning on this thing. So the interval signals were important. If I wanted to find a station, I was listening and searching for the interval signal before the station would actually go on the air. And when I compare it today to the radios I've got, this thing is not sensitive at all. This thing is rather bad, actually. But hey, it was my radio, and I was happy, and I got my first, probably my first 50 QSL cards thanks to that DX100. And then I moved on to DX302, which was nice because now I knew that, oh, there are radios with digital readouts, which is a lot more interesting because now you can go directly to the station's frequency and hear the station or not. Where here, if a station was propagating or not, you had to go through the stations, one by one, and try to identify what station you're listening to, which was very, very time consuming. At the same time, there was kind of a challenge, I would say. Maybe that also helped. It was kind of a challenging thing to find stations on this, but hey, I remember the evenings that I spent, Saturday evenings that I spent listening to Música del Ecuador and the DX Party Line on the Realistic DX100. It was just great, just great, and it was my first radio, and it has a special place in my heart. Still works great. So turn around here. Try to see if I can hear other stations. It is right now only on a little piece of wire in the back of this shelf, so it doesn't have much of an antenna right now. But made my day. It was my first radio, and at 13 years old, turning this thing on and hearing, hey, you're listening to Radio Moscow is super amazing. I mean, the first time I heard Radio Moscow on this, how can you not be amazed when you don't know what shortwave is all about, and you hear Radio Moscow from the Soviet Union? It was kind of amazing. Man. What else do we have? Dan Robinson says the ICF shortwave 77s are nice receivers to be sure. They often exhibit issues of being slightly off frequency and lower upper sideband. That's important to check before obtaining one. Felix Zanakis, why are the noise level high now? Is it signal smog from digital equipment and other new appliances? Or is it just the way it is because there are a few stations out there or something? It's a mix of both, actually. Okay, honestly, it's a mix of both. It's a mix of there is a radio smog. Absolutely. There's an intense radio smog that has built up over the years. From the 70s until now, there are some noise devices that create more noise. When, sorry, I have a little cold. So one of the things that I would say has probably increased the noise is when the first devices that actually have switching power supplies started appearing on the market. That was one of the bad things that appeared in our electronics life. It was cool because what's happening is electronic devices came smaller and smaller over time. But there was one big problem. For a long time, what maintained a device at a certain size, especially the devices you plug in your wall, was the fact that the power supply was huge. It needed a huge transformer. You needed like these, and this one's a small one. There was bigger ones than that, but it needed really big transformers like this, and even bigger ones than this. And that would require that the device be clunky and heavy. And then someday somebody came up with the marvelous design of a switching power supply. What happens in the switching power supply is that the frequency of the electricity, which is standard 60 hertz in North America, 50 hertz in Europe, is actually increased to the kilohertz. What that does is that it creates less heat. And so you can actually have smaller devices running in the kilohertz range. And the way that they are designed, not only do they do less heat, but you can actually manage higher power. So devices that required a lot of power, you could finally have a very small circuit that had transistors on it or a chip, and that would manage, and because it was small, it would manage all the electricity requirements. It would manage the higher power needed and dissipate less heat, often less heat than regular power supplies. I mean, if this, just to give you an idea, guys, this one is designed to give about 2 amps of power at 13.8 volts. So you see this, and this is heavy actually. Well, if you wanted to have one that could give 10 amps, it would be quadruple the size of this thing, even more. And it would be heavier. And so switching power supplies, an example of a switching power supply, this little power supply here can give 2 amps. Now, imagine, I've got this very heavy, clunky thing, and this is the whole transformer, and this is a big one, because there are smaller ones than this. This gives out the same amount of power as this. It weighs nothing. It's all integrated into one little, wall wart. And you've got some that are as small as this and they give 10 amps. And so this is the revolution of electronics to make it smaller. Problem is, they are using the current and oscillating it at very high frequencies, 40 kilohertz. So what happens is that oscillation in the often cheap ones, well, it actually creates all sorts of spurious signals. And I mean, it actually does and creates all sorts of harmonics of radio frequencies everywhere. So this is what you hear, and it's part of the high noise level we've got. So switching power supplies, there are good ones. There are high quality switching power supplies that actually create no noise on the radio spectrum. But there are, and most of them are cheap. The minimum requirement to make the device as cheap as possible. They create harmonics everywhere. And there's, different circuits also and different technologies that came to be that have increased the noise level as time went by. There's also the outside factor. For example, There's what we create with our devices and with the new devices today. There's also what's created outside by the utility companies, electricity, the way electricity deployment is today, or the way that cable and internet and DSL and all of that, well, the wires outside become transmitters of all sorts of new noises and new radio frequencies that were not there before, because 30 years ago, all you got on a telephone line was, a little analog telephone signal, which was a little electric current, and that's it. But when they started adding stuff, DSL internet, well, that's starting to actually change what these wires are capable of doing, but it also is increasing the noise around them, because all of that is creating all sorts of noise and harmonics of radio frequencies with what they do. So that's one part. The radio noise, the smog as you call it, it's a perfect word actually. A radio smog. I would call it radio smog. The radio smog is intense compared to what it was. And one very easy way to see how intense radio smog is around you, take a portable radio and walk into a park. And you'll see that in the park, there's really no noise. There's really low noise. When I go to Perry Island, the noise just goes down. It goes away. And it lets me listen suddenly to tons of stations. And that is the number one biggest and single biggest problem. Because honestly, when you look at their spectrum of, just look at the 25-meter band. In a regular high noise environment like I have here, say you hear 12 stations from one end to the other of the 25-meter band. Take that same radio, same antenna, bring it to a park far from homes where the noise level is dropped, and you easily have triple the number of signals and stations you can hear. Suddenly, the bands become alive again. So that means a lot of what you don't hear is there, but it's in the noise level or below, so you don't notice it. I often tune a signal that I will see that there's a possibility. I will see that it's there on the SDR, or I can hear by using little tricks with, like putting myself in upper sideband and tuning just off. I could hear that there's a little head, there's a little sound, there's something there. I can probably hear that station, but that station is in the noise. Another example, BBC on 15400 is a easy catch in North America. The problem is, here in Montreal where I live, 15400, sometimes on the best days of propagation might make it enough for me to listen. But most of the time it's just pretty much in the noise, same level as my noise level. I can't listen to it. But when I go to Perry Island, or if I go to the park, I always hear it really well. I can follow the program really well. And I don't even need a really strong signal to actually enjoy the program. That's a big, big, big issue. If we could, just by doing this, remove all of the noise, the radio smog around us for 5 minutes, you guys would be tuning around and be amazed at the amount of signal still there. But we have a lot more noise now, and it washes a lot of that away. And you got to, of course, add the fact that there's less stations on the air. We were talking 30 years ago, when I started with this thing, stations were jam-packed on the 49-meter band and 31-meter band and 25-meter band, even the 19-meter band. There were tons of stations. Today, there's a lot of space where there's nothing. So, high noise, washing out the weakest signals, that radio smog, mixed in with the fact that there's, a quarter of the transmissions that were 30 years ago on the bands. Well, that's why you can tune in the 19-meter band sometimes and say, hey, there's absolutely nothing. And you're wondering, wow, there's nothing. But if you look at schedules, you'll see there's lots of stuff on the 19-meter band. If you look at schedules, you might start noticing that in the noise there's stuff. It's just your noise level is too high. So it's really a mix of both. Signal smog, very, very, very important thing. I think it's the number one reason. Because, I hear people all the time saying, well, there are no more stations. I saw somebody on a Facebook group saying, all I hear is Cuba, China, and religious stations. Well, if you remove the noise, if you have a good enough setup, there's a lot more than that. And yesterday afternoon, anybody who would have been here while I was doing my videos and see me tuning around would have said, well, okay, there's a lot of stations to listen to. And there's still a lot of stations to listen to. There are less than there were 30 years ago, 20 years ago. There's still a lot of stations to listen to. I put the noise floor in the number one spot of why we don't hear much before the fact that there's less stations. And one factor, of course, not to neglect. If you live in an area like North America, the number of stations that are broadcasting to us that are targeting North America is not very high. There isn't a lot of stations targeting North America. So in a place like North America, it makes it a little harder to listen in to some stations. An example is BBC. BBC doesn't target North America anymore. It hasn't done so in a long time. So to listen to BBC, you gotta listen to it targeting West Africa or things like that from Ascension Islands. And it is listenable. I regularly hear the BBC really well. One of the best frequencies for the BBC actually in the East Coast. If you have a high noise level like me, and if you stay up a little late, the 05 to 0700 UT 6005 kilohertz frequency is packing an amazing signal most of the time. And I often will listen to the first hour before going to bed, because here in Montreal that means it's midnight to 1 a.m. But 6005 from Ascension Island is amazingly good. And there are a few frequencies that tend to propagate well. If you have a lower noise level, 12095, the BBC 12095 frequency is often a pretty good one. Let me just try it out here to see if I'm hearing it. So right now it's rather noisy, but I do see that 12095 is there. But for a lot of people, if you have a lower noise floor here in North America, especially East Coast, 12095 is actually going to give you a good enough signal to listen to the BBC. So, noise is the number one culprit. And it's obvious if you go to a low noise environment, you will immediately see the number of stations that suddenly pop up is amazing. When I go to Perry Island and I spend an afternoon there, I get depressed when I come back home, because over there were tons of stations I could listen to easily. And over here, the amount of stations is low because maybe 60% of all the stations I heard are in the noise. Impossible to listen to. But there's still a lot on the shortwave band. And you can't compare that to back in the days of 30 years ago. That's for sure. But I got to say that it's amazing the number of stations. There's still a lot of stuff to listen to in the international broadcast bands. When I see people saying there's nothing to listen to, so I don't want to listen to shortwave anymore. Yes, there's tons of things to listen to. You just got to be, you just got to, be willing to go and get that station, and be willing sometimes to, the days of listening to shortwave from your armchair in the living room are gone for the most part. Now you got to move. You got to go somewhere. You got to go to the park. You got to go to a low noise environment and somewhere else. Shortwave frequency channel. Nice to have you on board. Merry Christmas. Bought a new 27 megahertz radio for Christmas. Also, I was just watching my local hockey team win in a finale minute drama. Cool. Dan Robinson says another fantastic unit like DSP40 is the Yisu SP5. combined with the TimeWave DS59 unit internally. They are quite rare, but these miracle workers are for difficult noise conditions. Hey, I'm Red88. Nice to have you on board, Tom. And anybody that does not know Tom Styles, excellent channel, Hamrad88, has got great videos. Check it out. Many exactors. Wonder if all that smog is hazardous to bees, cattle, and people. You know, there's not much. There are some studies, but there isn't really that much that we can say of, you know, is that that's radio RF smog around us. Could that cause problems? It's I don't know. We don't know. Ralph Bender, nice to have you here from Germany. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Hey, Douglas Perry, nice to have you on board. So, what else do we have? Very strong carry on 15570. Running Xanakis. Radio Norway used to be good, not so much these days. What else do we have? Yeah, well, 100 is that is pretty easy for me. The 100 mark is usually we get to that mark of 100 views pretty much every time. We beat the record. We beat the record 3 weeks, a month ago when we had harp tests. That was we had 161, which was the record. Eric Cottrell, is to have you here. Boy, the DX100 is a very basic receiver. Oh, absolutely. Very basic receiver, absolutely. But, you know, when it's the only thing you know, the only thing you have, and you're happy to have it, you know. Robert Prosper says, Apollo 8 took off for the moon 50 years ago today. Wow. Oh, yeah, that was the one they orbited around the moon on Christmas. It was Apollo 8. Yeah, I remember that. Well, I don't remember because I wasn't born, but I remember when I watched that later, that the Apollo 8, they spent some time in orbit around the moon on Christmas. So take care, Andrew Ross. It was nice to have you on board. Nathan Petrovsky, nice to have you here. Getting an ICOM ICR30 for Christmas. Pretty cool. That's a good good portable receiver for sure. Tony Perron says the DX series was sensitive to QRM. So, you know. Eric Cottrell says back in '79 I bought a Panasonic RF 2200. I had that for a year and a half before I sold it. I should have kept all of that. I totally regret selling that. Al Catalan, nice to have you here. Artist Out of Crafter's Kitchen says radios like the DX100 were a perfect gateway drug to get people into the hobby. Mine was an Echophone commercial my dad got from a co-worker. Picked up a ton of stations and got me started. And you know, in that time, we didn't have to actually, you know, have that great of a radio. There were so many things on that even a cheap radio was receiving tons of stations. What was the most annoying of the DX100 was its amazing drift. And you know what? I tried to tune a single sideband signal on this the other day with limited success. And I thought to myself, wow, did I really listen to some single sideband signals on this thing? Imagine the first time I got my SWL cartridge for decoding radio teletype on the Commodore 64, I was using this. And because of the drift, I was always compensating with the fine tune here to try to decode, and it was dreadfully difficult to decode anything because of that. And it became so much better when the DX302, because the DX302 drifted very little compared to this. What else do we have? Hey Randy in Riverside, California. Merry Christmas. Nice to have you on board. Free Saxton. Nice to have you here from Wales, Britain. Pretty cool. Finding Xenakis. Yeah, switching power supplies. There's so much noise from these things. It's just crazy. Eric Control says Titan SDR came with the 6 volts, 2.7 amp linear power supply. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Jerry K, thinking of buying an ICOM IC7300 transceiver. All I can say is that everybody that's got one seems to be extremely happy. Price versus performance. It looks like a very, very good transceiver, Jerry. Casper Peterson, nice to have you on board. Channel Retro, nice to have you here. It's got a Texan PL600 coming. Cool. Cool. Yeah, everything seems to be amazing on the 7300. Gary Sir, nice to have you on board and from the UK. Channel Retro, I used to have a realistic DX398, but I sold it a few years back. Terrible decision. That was truly a great radio. Yeah, you're talking about this over here. But I will actually get up because I will have everything fall. DX398. You're talking about this little thing, this little baby here, which is also known as the Sangean ATS 909. So this is very nice receiver, very heavy. I like it. I like the receiver. The only problem with the X398 and the Sangean versions is that it's a little deaf. With the telescopic antenna, but put a long wire in this thing and it's great. It's great, and even with all of that, put all the batteries out because they are dead anyways, and it'll give me a chance to recharge the batteries at the same time. So, but I'm happy. This is a very, very nice receiver. It has RDS capability, long wave, medium wave, FM, shortwave, up to 30 megahertz. Very easy to tune single sideband signals because it has upper-lower sideband separation, and 40 hertz. When you're on single sideband, you can actually tune to 40 hertz precision. Even if it doesn't display on the 40 hertz, it actually is very nice for that. When you put this with a long wire, it's actually very good. And I like the fact that there's the page system where you can actually tag the stations and put, like, if you're listening to Voice of America, you can like put VOA or, V America, or you can actually tag the stations. I think that was very, very nice. And mine still works. I purchased this on sale. I believe it was because they had this on Radio Shack for $200, if I remember well. But I don't want to pay $200 for it. And I think they had a closeout sale, and it was down to $99. That's when I picked it up, because I saw it at $99 and said, okay, I gotta get it. Gotta get that radio. What needs to be changed on this one is the speaker is now bad, which is a very common problem, by the way, to the DX398. So the speaker goes bad on many of these models. So I use an outboard speaker when I want to tune around, so that it works, because it just doesn't work. This is what I was talking, by the way, guys, the other day. Those that were asking me what I use as rechargeables. The Amazon Basics rechargeables are great. These are really amazing. Purchased a pack of 16. These are now maybe 2 years old, a little more. Purchased a pack of 16 and been very happy. They keep their charge, like the end loops and all of that, so you can charge them and they keep their charge for a long time, and just amazing batteries. If you're looking for good rechargeables, the Amazon Basics are great. Just gonna put them here next to the gazillion other rechargeables that I need to recharge because they're now almost dead. Dave Derlin, nice to have you here from Colorado. Eric Cottrell, Radio Havana in French, I believe, 370. Yeah, that is French, absolutely, Eric. That's Radio Havana in French. I hear it here. Not super strong, but good enough to notice that it's French language. Rob Webster, nice to have you on board. Tony Perron's got a Hammerlock SP600, and it was the think of a radio, 14 tubes. I don't think it has rivaled until Tech Series came out. Pretty cool. Yep, in French on 15370. JD says, I think my shortwave radio to my cabin, no transmission lines, for 1.5 kilometers and run long wire. My radio comes alive, such a difference from listening home. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is an amazing difference. Having anywhere that is low noise brings any radio to life. And you suddenly understand that there's still a lot of stuff on shortwave. a lot more than you think. William Helms from Florida, nice to have you here. So yeah, well, I live smack in the middle of Montreal. So and Montreal is the second biggest city in Canada. So it's when you live in smack in the middle of a big city, that's what happens. Lacrosse, nice to have you on board. Says my PL 310 ET does not exceed my expectations at all. My $20 does better. You should have a good, a pretty good radio on the PL 310 ET. I mean, it's quite sensitive and quite good. I don't know if there may be something wrong with your model or something. It's weird because you should have as good, if not better, reception on 310 ET. I've got a 310 and a 380, and both are just crazy amazing. I'm just gonna pick them up here. I've got the 380 here, and do I have the 310 yet? And these are the two that I'm talking about here. So on the this is the 380 that I love. This is an amazing radio. The 310 also pretty amazing. Just check out here if everything's okay. So here it goes. These are amazing radios. They are quite sensitive. I'm surprised that you're not having performance that you would like, because these are great. These are great and very, very sensitive. I mean, I heard North Korea on the PL380 uses a telescopic antenna. There's actually a video on that channel from a couple of years back, and I mean, anywhere, I can say anywhere you go in an environment where the noise level is very low. Story behind the boat, because one, I've got them in my hands. The PL310 was the first that I purchased in this form factor. The 380 came about, I don't know, 6 months later maybe. The 310 was nice because I wanted to have a compact receiver and see if it's working well. It actually, I already had the Texan PL600. So when I got this, I was pleasantly surprised with the performance of this radio. Very, very, very nice. Good audio and everything. It was very, very cool. And so, and I was intrigued because these were the first, I think the 310 I purchased because it was the first radio that I'd seen classified as a DSP receiver. And I thought, okay, so this is DSP. so digital signal processing. And I was intrigued at what it would bring, so I actually bought the PL310 first. And was surprised. I was surprised also by the fact that you can choose the bandwidth 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 kilohertz. And that's due to the chip that's in here. And then after, when I saw the 380 that I found, looked a little more modern. This one is like a little kind of more, squarish. This one is kind of rounded edges a little more. It looks a little more modern, I would say. This one made me buy it because I thought, well, it looks like the other one. They look the same, except they're pretty much the same, except the box. But the PL380 had something new also, which was the easy tuning mode, ETM. And they were advertising ETM as being something incredible. And I was, of course, wondering, okay, let's get that one and see if ETM is as good and incredible as they say. And finally, I was amazed at the easy tuning mode because I found really it was amazing to just press that ETM button, let it scan through the international broadcast band, and bring back all the stations that it had found in its scan. And I thought it was amazing. So 2 great radios. So anyways, that's why I'm surprised that your PL310 is not exceeding your expectations. It's kind of weird because they are really amazing. Revelda65, nice to have you here. Alvin Chipmunk, nice to have you on board. Got his Icom CRD 600 today, woohoo, and he loves it. Oh yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Tony Perron had a DX150 for his first large shortwave radio. Picked up great when the electronic noise wasn't there. Yeah, absolutely. Auditors Alicraft lined on the inside of my DX200 with aluminum foil to reduce QRM. Drift can add to the charm. You're always on dials. Oh yeah, for sure. You're always chasing. You're always chasing that station. For sure. For sure. Oh man. Pretty amazing. K1ZEK from South Carolina. Nice to have you here, my friend. Rob Wester says, Merry Christmas, everyone. And everyone, a Happy New Year. Same for you. Really cool to have you here. For those that wonder, once again, no shows tomorrow, but there will be a shortwave show next Friday, the 28th of December, and the VHF UHF one on Saturday, the 29th of December. So next week, 2 shows in between Christmas and New Year. So it's pretty cool. Alex Champion, nice to have you on board. Happy holidays. Pretty cool to have you here. Channel Retro says he misses his old DX398. Bobby Burgess has Supreme Master TV on 9455. I like the fact that it's on radio and they call themselves TV. Supreme Master TV. Kind of weird. Channel Retro says the DX390 was pretty good too. Used to have one of those. Fanny Xenakis had a National Panasonic shortwave radio, drifted quite a lot, as much as my grandma's tube radio. Got stolen in a burglary. Yeah, that's sad. Department of Defense, nice to have you here. Says Christmas listening, December 23rd, 2300 UTC, McMurdo Station, Antarctica broadcast on 7995. I try it every year, and I never hear it every year. And we're going to have to check that out. 2300 on December 23rd. Aren't they on the... Yeah, it's like, I guess it must be the 23rd. So we're going to have to check that out. Last year, I tried and didn't hear anything. I remember I tried here at home. I remember I tried on some South American online receivers and heard nothing from the McMurdo Antarctica broadcast on 7995. That's kind of weird. Enrico Baravuglia, nice to have you here, and it has nothing to do with the volume level. It has to do with something very bizarre. So it's, I don't know, there's some kind of feedback that I just can't trace. It's as if the stereo mix didn't um, stop when I stopped it or something. It's kind of weird. So anyways, as long as it's understandable, it's going to be okay. Brian, Iowa, nice to have you on board. Sounds cool. So, you know, it's just the way it is. I don't know why it does that today. I've never had that before in such a way. So I don't know. And I stopped and restarted the stream, and it still stays. It's very bizarre. I can't. All the inputs are off except the one that I use for the microphone. There's no output of sound here. I don't hear myself. I don't hear nothing. I'm not listening to myself here at all. So I have no idea why it does that. It's as if internally within the laptop it's happening. Very bizarre. Matambale, Radio Exterior de España, 9690. Let's check it out here. Let's check it out here. Pretty good signal. Pretty good signal. Pretty good signal. Don't forget it's Friday, so tonight, if you still hear it at 2300 UT, they have their English language broadcast. W5KJL says, I think it's hilarious that WTWW has been playing Baby It's Cold Outside every evening. The operator even chuckles when it ends. He's having fun, I guess. And you know, why not? It's just I get the drift of why some words and some things that were said in the song might sound weird, and you know, you got to remember one thing is, I mean, on a lot of these of these songs from that period of time, it reflects another era. You know, I mean, we aren't doing and acting today as we did in the 50s. There are things that were acceptable in the 50s that are not today. If we'd see everybody smoke, for example, in TV shows and movies, well, today a lot of us would be like, oh, okay, well, they're smoking on the show. We would notice that for a lot of us. Where you would watch a movie or a show from the 50s and there's nothing there. It's normal. It's part of life. Smoking is part of life. Until Sunday, smoking became uncool or that thing that we need to, you know. So times change. But the problem is, I personally think we're going too far. There's a limit. And every time somebody brings me that song, I always say, have you listened to some of the rap or hip hop songs today? I mean, some of them have explicit lyrics that are just so bad that you're like, really? You're going nuts over Baby It's Cold Outside? Have you just listened to some of the rap songs? Please, let's not go overboard here. Mad Boy, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool to have you on board, my friend. Mark Cope is receiving Greece on 9420. Let's check it out. Not super strong, but it's there. It's there. About S9 over here. S9, 9420. Greece is coming in. Tam, nice to have you here. B. I have quite a few radios, but if push came to shove, the Texan PL450 and PL600 would be all you need. Thanks for your review show. They are two amazing receivers, absolutely. PL450, what is nice on that one is a very beautiful audio of the PL450, honestly. So, you know. Dave Todd, nice to have you here. Do you hear what I hear? Yeah. Oh man. Oh man. What else do we have? David in Barcelona. Nice to have you on board. And says yesterday I did the 2 tests for my EA ham ticket. Passed flawlessly. Just need to request and be given a call sign. I'm the only one now. I'm the one that needs my call sign. Congratulations, David. Congratulations, David. Pretty cool. Hey, we're an hour 20 into the show. Nice to have you here, all and everyone. We are on the Shortwave show. This is a show about radio. We talk about radio every Fridays, 2000 hours UTC. We're going to go through a few more of my receivers up here that we can check for today. We probably won't go through all of the models. You know, I don't want to bore you guys. But this is, somebody wanted to see a little bit more. We're going to choose some of the ones that I find kind of interesting. And you guys made me actually take out a lot of receivers that I didn't use for a while. One of them last week, if you guys remember, I was talking about how bad the Degen DE1106 I thought was really bad. And I actually brought it out again, put batteries in it, and started tuning around again with it. And it's, it's not amazing for the price that I paid, but I gotta say that the fact that I started tuning around again with it and listening into signals has made me enjoy the 1106 a little more. The other day I put it on 15770 and listened to an hour of that Supreme Master TV thing. They were in French for like 30 minutes and in English after. And I've been tuning around and listening into some signals to I'm trying to love this radio again. And you know what? It actually caught many stations that surprised me. I think what happened, and it's probably the number one problem why I don't use it and don't like it much. The audio is very high pitched, almost thinny. Like it sounds like audio coming off of a very small portable that would have like a 2-inch speaker or not even. And I think that's the first thing that probably annoys me on this radio, because I started tuning around and found myself to actually somewhat enjoy tuning in. And of course, one of the things that I noticed, and you can see it here, for example, is FM station breakthrough. It's very sensitive to FM station breakthrough on certain parts of the shortwave bands. I still will never recommend anybody buy the D1106 because it's this is above $100. Totally not worth it, the price. Really not worth it, the price. I mean, I got $40 radios that are a million times better than this, but I don't know. There's something about it that maybe is I don't know. It's kind of I'm trying to and there's a lack of sensitivity a little bit on it. I mean, it receives and everything, but there's a lack of sensitivity on the D1106 for sure. But it's out, and I plan to make a few videos showing you guys some reception of stations with that radio. Kind of do a little more, and actually bringing out all of these radios are giving me ideas that I'll do more little tuning around videos with some of these radios and see how they perform and how they are basically as receivers. So it's kind of cool to. So it's nice to have. So we have more hams on there, and it's really nice. my turn. Now I've got a transceiver, the Yaesu FT450. I need to get mine. That's my turn, and that's what I will be doing starting in January. I'll be checking that out and getting my ham license for sure. I will open up beer number 2, and beer number 2 will be a don de Dieu, gift from God. You're watching the Shortwave show. We'll do a little self-promotion here after an hour 25. If you like the shows, why not give me a little something if you want to help me out with donations. YouTube.me/shortwave, or just send it to the Yahoo email you will see here if you have a PayPal account. You can also become a patron on patreon.com and /radio and computers. And of course, join 11 patrons and give me a little something every month. Thank you, everybody that have donated. And if you do enjoy what I do, if you like to have these live shows every week, why not, share a little something if you wish. And especially, I'm trying to get out here to the people that watch the show all the time and never have donated. Why not think about it? If you think this is valuable content, valuable show, talking about radio all the time, it's kind of cool. And we're going to, of course, helps me continue with everything I do. And look at this beautiful beer. So you're watching the Shortwave radio show from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And we are looking at a little bit of my collection of radio here. So, Sextus, nice to have you here. Cheers. And cheers, everybody. To radio. And I hope you enjoy the show. So, let's see here. Let's check out a few more radios that I've got. One that I put forward here because I find it nice. I found it nice in the color red. One of the things sometimes that I would like when I bought a radio was to get a radio. That was unusual in its looks or its colors. It's always something unusual and nice. So this is the Emergency Grundig FR200. It's a AM/FM shortwave band receiver. Has a little flashlight here, and of course it's totally analog. It's one of those little emergency receivers that has a little crank to charge the battery. So you just crank it up to charge the battery internally. It's a little cell phone type battery that's rechargeable that's in here in the cover. You can power it with AA batteries if you want. There's a 4.5 volt power supply plug here if you want to charge via the power supply. That's not included. And kind of nice. You see here a little flashlight. Not necessarily the best flashlight in the world to help, but it's there. And actually has there's a replaceable light bulb in the cover here, so it's kind of nice for that. So it's an analog radio, but it's surprisingly sensitive, honestly. I like it for its simplicity. I mean, anybody that doesn't want to have anything complex, a million buttons to try to understand, well, this is pretty much as simple as it gets, and I kind of like the red color it has. So it covers shortwave from 3.2 to 7.8 and 7.6, sorry, and shortwave 2, 9.2 to 22 megahertz. Surprisingly sensitive, but problem is drift. If you don't like drift, this thing drifts pretty much a lot. But you know, it works. I don't know here. And this is FM. Well, the battery's dead pretty much already because I haven't cranked enough, but surprisingly sensitive. I got quite a lot of videos at stations I've listened to it. The audio is really good and very clear on this speaker. Typically, if you crank for about 2 minutes, if you crank it for 2 minutes, you will have about an hour, hour and a half of radio to listen to, which isn't too bad. So it's good for, you know, camping situations or anywhere where there's no power and no batteries and nothing. It's kind of cool, and it works. You know, I mean, it's a nice little radio, and it's one of those that, you know, I purchased probably on sale somewhere, but I'm kind of happy to own. It's one of those little things that I'm happy. It's very analog style and very simple. It's one of those things that, you know, you turn it on, it's kind of cute to tune in and to listen to whatever signals you get. And, you know, I think these are nice to have. And I think everybody would need one of those, at least one of, not necessarily this model, but any emergency radio that has hand crank for charge and stuff like that are, I think it's a good idea because, I mean, if all hell breaks loose and you've got no more power, you've got this, and this actually will run if you don't have any batteries. So it's kind of cool for that, just by cranking it. And, you know, it's kind of cute. It's one of those little radios that I kind of like for the emergency. You know, for me, it's more of a gadget, but it's kind of nice for these emergency situations. The FR200, it's one of those cute little radios that I kind of like. It's really not bad at all. So you guys want to see it from up close here. FR200. Recycle power, as they say. And tuning knob, volume, crank. Kind of cool. Kind of cool little radio here. And I think, you know, for emergency situations, it's not bad. Brett Wayne, nice to have you here from Salamanca, New York, KC2NXP. Nice to have you on board, my friend. And it's always cool to have everybody here. So, you know, always nice. Another radio that is kind of cool for emergency situations and that I like a lot. If I had a choice between the one that I just showed you now and that one, this is the one that I would choose. So this is the Degen DE13. Another one that's Max Edstrom. Nice to have you here. I don't know if I said hi earlier, by the way. Another one that's exotic and nice. Little green Degen DE13. This one is also an emergency type receiver, so it has, of course, the crank that you can actually charge the battery with on the radio. As you see, it's also a very good exercise if you want to have some muscles or something. This is a AM/FM shortwave receiver also, but it also has one added bonus that's cool here, and it's the fact that it is a solar panel on top. And almost anything that I've owned that have solar panels are usually not very good. But I gotta say, put this little radio in the sunshine in the summer for a full afternoon, and I can bet you got almost a full evening of radio. It charges enough to have several hours before you're going to have to crank it to actually use it. Same principle. There's this little battery here that looks like a cell phone. Not a cell phone, but these are kind of cordless phone batteries they use. So anyways, it's in here, so you can actually, and these are very standard, by the way. You can purchase these so easily at, on eBay. You'll get tons of them for like, $2. $3 shipping included. Sorry. It goes, of course, on shortwave, AM, and FM. Has nice sound quality, honestly. And of course, it has flashlight. It has a siren, and this very useless little red light that blinks. That I don't think lost in the forest anybody's gonna notice anything. What is nice about it too is the fact that if you actually have this charged fully and you got your smartphone and you're kind of lost and you kind of need to make a call but your smartphone battery's dead, there's a USB port. You can probably just get enough juice to make a call, for example. So that's part of the emergency aspect of of um, of this radio, and you also can charge it with a USB cable. If you have a micro USB cable, you will be able to charge this radio from the computer if you have a computer with you or anything. It's kind of cute, and for an emergency radio, this one is my favorite, honestly, because of the solar power. Also, very, very, very nice to have this around. And I haven't actually used it in a while. I will have to turn it on and tune around the bands with this. I mean, this is going to be kind of cool. Let me just see if I can hear the bands. This is FM. Which bands am I? So FM, medium wave, shortwave, anything here. Kind of difficult to tune here with all the noise, but its performance on shortwave is actually surprising. I'll just have to tune it away from noise sources, but pretty. This is a medium wave band.
Johnny, just before we let you go, I commend you for the way you've handled the questions about your past. I know it's not easy. It's part of who you are, as you mentioned.
So, it's Degen DE13. Kind of cute. Wasn't very expensive. I don't remember the price. It's like a $30 radio or something. And, found it cute. These are sometimes those, for example, this. I will go on eBay or go somewhere and see these unusual shapes and colors. And often I will purchase them because that is more of what attracts me first, the unusual, type of radio that it could be. Then, the fact that it was solar and crank and everything. And it had shortwave. It was like, why not? Let's take that out. Kind of cute. Kind of fun. Honestly, kind of fun. And been having a lot of fun with this, actually, honestly. So it's kind of nice. And another one of those emergency radios that's kind of nice to have around in case of, So what else do we have? So take care, K1Z8K. Nice to have you here. Merry Christmas. Fatty Zanakis, Christmas. Yes, I'm not going to have a glass of wine. I will be a small glass of homemade German-style blue wine instead. Yummy on a winter evening. Huh. Cool. That radio sounds like a cat in distress. Ernie Turner, nice to have you here from Australia. Pretty cool. VK3DET. Below 30 megahertz, nice to have you on board from Valencia, Spain. Just came back from dinner. Pretty cool. Nice to have you here. Pilar Fredo says there is an upgrade for this Degen, the Degen CY1. Oh, I didn't know. I'll have to check that out, VLF Radio. I didn't know. Butterbean, nice to have you on board. Fanny Xanakis, I have one of those survivalist winder radios. It's so fragile, looks like it's going to break. Solar cells are very weak. Never managed to charge it using those cells. Yeah, but that's the thing, and that's why I was talking about this one. Because I also noticed, Fanny, that a lot of these are actually very crappy on that side. This one is, the feel of the crank is actually good. Feels like it's more sturdy than most others. Also, the solar panel on this one, I tell you, one afternoon in the sun, and you have almost an evening of radio, which is surprising. Most other radios that I've owned that had solar panels, I mean, you would leave it an afternoon in the sunshine and you get 10 minutes of radio. It was very, very different. The Degen DE13 is it's in a class by itself, honestly. Really a lot. The other ones are kind of, a little more kind of crappy most of the time. Yeah, that is the thing, Butterbean. These radios, the solar panel, you got to put it in full sunlight. It's very important. If you got cloudy day, or if you try to charge it, some people, somebody once told me, well, I tried to charge it under a lamp, a desk lamp. No, that's not enough. It needs sun. It needs really, you got to put it in the sunshine. A desk lamp's not enough. It really needs a lot of, a light. It's really direct sunshine. But it works. Remote Radio DX Man, nice to have you here, says, anybody know if there's a new firmware update uploaded to the newest XH Data D808? Because Longwave doesn't work at all on mine. Should work. Should work. Honestly. Because I've not had anybody complain of Longwave not working. It's kind of weird. You try to reset. Oh, look at that. You've got it here. 3250. Thanks, Eric. TexanRadios.com.au in Australia. 3250. Probably Australian. We also have an upgraded version with similar performance and features, the CY1. Oh, that's interesting. Pretty cool. So thanks for sharing. So, if you have to buy one, this one is actually a surprising one. Like you were saying, let me just go back here. Butterbean. No, Fanny. Most of the others I've had with solar panels are crappy, and you're right. A lot of them have a very, very cheap crank that can break easily. You won't do that for a long, long time for sure. Pretty sure. Xestronic says, I'm having an issue with my Texan PL880. Battery strength level indicator goes from full strength to dead in an instant. Can anybody tell me if that is normal? Make sure it's not your batteries, Max. Some batteries have this, especially some older rechargeables, have this weird way of being like full blown, I'm okay, to I'm dead. Have you tried it with alkaline batteries just for the fun? If you could see it like go through. If you're using rechargeables, it could be that reason. Shogun Arby, take care. Have a wonderful time also. And yeah, I will be on board on CKUT this Sunday morning. So it's going to be a lot of fun as usual to be there. See you Sunday morning, Sheldon. Take care. Oh, interesting. So Brett Wade says, Max, I saw my 880 do that too. I just got it, so I don't know. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe it is. Nick Mayakovsky, nice to have you here, says the fade profile of an 18650 battery is extremely fast. Oh, that's why. Maybe that's why. My PL880 stays in the full level for 30 hours and tapers off to dead in 2 hours. Oh yeah, it's running with that rechargeable. I forgot the 880 has that rechargeable lithium. Maybe that's the problem. The problem might not be the indicator, but the battery itself. Huh. That's the possibility. That is totally possible. Hey Matt, MDK2, nice to have you here. Yes, there's an echo since the beginning of the show. Because I don't know why. So we're managing the show with some echo today. Take care, Tony Perron. Merry Christmas for all of those leaving, by the way. I'm having a okay. My phone is buzzing that time. So Ralph Bender, take care, my friend. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. For sure. Yeah, that's also something. That's true. We gotta remind PLF Radio has a great point here, because I often jump to conclusions sometimes when people say it doesn't work. On I don't know where you're located, but Longwave doesn't have in North America, unless you live close to an airport. On Longwave, you might not hear anything because here we have mostly non-directional beacons. So that's something you need to know. Do you have something to listen to in your area? Where are you located, remote radio DX man? Because if you're in North America, here in Montreal, I will hear non-directional beacons because we have an airport next to not far from here. But honestly, if I would not live next to an airport, I would probably hear nothing, especially since the longwave band is often very noisy. If you have a lot of noise around you, you won't hear anything on the longwave band. It's not like in Europe. In Europe, there's some stuff to listen to still. So, Merry Christmas to everybody that are leaving. What else do we have? Hi, Mapper. Nice to have you on board from Moscow, Russia. Yeah, happy solstice. Winter solstice. Pretty cool. Shortest day of the year today. So that means we got the longest night of the year to go with tonight. Means in about a week's time from now, we're going to start having the days get a little longer every day. And it doesn't take that long to actually show. Often by mid-January, you can already notice in the evening. Bobby Burgess, have you ever owned a radio that just has medium wave and FM only? Absolutely. One example is this Super Radio 3 here. So this is the famous Super Radio 3.
كثير نشيطة فتسجل عن Papineau.
It has amazing sound, by the way.
Des milliers. Alors le film est en ligne sur la page.
So this is an AM/FM, what they call a super radio, AM/FM long range high performance radio from General Electrics. I purchased this one because it was on sale, if I remember well, but also because I heard a lot of good things with super radio. So this is an example of an AM/FM radio only that I purchased in the spirit of maybe DXing the FM band and the medium wave band. And it's been a long time since I haven't started tuning around the bands with it. Maybe I should do so. Great sound with a really amazing speaker here. And so yeah, that's to answer your question. I owned several over the years that were only AM FM. I've got a Sony in the kitchen, a Sony AM FM radio. I'm not even sure I've shown you guys that radio. Give me a second, guys. I'm gonna go and get that. You guys gonna see the receiver. So this is my kitchen radio, the one that I have if I want to listen to just in AM or FM broadcast, local broadcast. This is my main radio in my kitchen, and this doesn't have shortwave on it. It's really just a AM FM radio. I've owned it for a couple of years now. So this is a Sony AM FM portable. Runs on 2 AA batteries that last an eternity. I mean, you put two D batteries. You put 2 D batteries, D-size batteries in here, and you got a year of radio. It just doesn't take a lot of power, I can tell you that. And I mean, this thing runs a lot. So this is AM FM only, and it's the Sony ICF F10. And it runs on D batteries that you have here. These are my alkaline batteries in it. And I mean, you can tune around for months and use it every day. Kind of nice. It has, it's very simple, AM, FM, and off. And there's a headphone jack here if you want to put headphones on it. Which I never did. I should. Maybe it has nice sound. So kind of nice little portable radio. I paid $30. I think I paid $30 for this thing at a local electronics shop here, not very far. I was intrigued when I saw it. It was a nice size, and I thought, that'll be my kitchen AM/FM radio. Take care, Tony Perron. Nice to have you here. So what else do we have? Yeah, I think it's the battery. Honestly, I think it's the battery that does that rather than the indicator. But you know what? There's a lot of these indicators that also are kind of not necessarily well calibrated, and when the calibration is not done right, well, it can do these weird things. Every radio and every device that you can own has some of these weird glitches sometimes that you got to live with. But it could be the battery. With the 880, it's an 18650 battery in it, a lithium battery. It's possible that the problem is the battery rather than anything else. Remote Radio DX Man says, I do know from radio reviews Longwave band would perform really mediocre, but it was still in specs, and I think, yeah, but in North America there's really nothing much on the Longwave band. So maybe you're living on the in a spot where there's not a lot of stuff. Okay, you're in Poland. We do have national. Are you hearing at least 225? Or it's really, really dead? Even 225 doesn't come in, remote Radio DX Man? Now that would be weird. That would be weird, even if 225 doesn't come in. Especially at night. That would be weird. Below 30 megahertz has just received my new PL310 ET. I love the radio, but I feel odd with the way DSP handles weak signals. It is kind of weird. You have to get used to it. It is weird the way that it handles. You are totally right on that. It's kind of there's kind of a threshold where it seems to kind of just fade off and come back. It's very, very weird. Because they all use pretty much the same chip. Almost any small portable DSP uses that silicon integrated 37 some chip. And what happens is that it's the way that chip handles signals. You got to get used to it. It is weird. Absolutely, you're totally right on that. Below 30 megahertz, but it sounds good. Absolutely. iMapper, my favorite radio station here in Russia is Echo of Moscow. The second one is the Echo of Montreal. I'm just kidding. Well, the Echo of Montreal today. Mark Cobb's got Korea weak on 9650 in Dallas. Oh, interesting. I'm just gonna put 9650 here just to see if I hear anything. Nothing much here on 9650, can tell you that. Closest is 9640. I don't know what that is, but there's a station 9640. Raymond Challenger, nice to have you on board. And yeah, you gotta be careful with that. Absolutely, Mark Cope. As Emmat is saying, Radio Guinea out of Africa is on that frequency, and usually in North America, that's what we hear. Radio Guinea rather than Voice of Korea. Fanning Xenakis, is the Frankfurt atomic clock transmitter Longwave possible to tune into and listen to below the equator or at all? You know what? I would think anything, if you would have a really amazing antenna farm in low noise, you can hear surprising things on long-wave band probably. But here it's impossible, too much noise. I would have to try with a really long, a long wire out in the woods, far from everything. Maybe there I could hear something, I don't know. David, Erica Troll, yeah, 2 bands, absolutely. 2 bands. They're, you know what? What's funny is somebody took the time to actually say, we gotta put the 2 bands on the radio and say that it's 2 bands. Sound quality of this radio is not bad.
Vraiment, surtout en Montérégie, à l'hôpital Honoré-Mercier de Saint-Hyacinthe et à l'hôpital du Soir.
That's an FM. If I go on AM, let's go down to CJD.
Having your own business can feel as happy and fulfilling as this.
Okay.
But when it comes time to make big decisions, like expanding, things can suddenly feel this lonely.
This is very... sound quality is not bad. Sensitivity is okay. I mean, here it's difficult because I have a lot of... well, here's, for example, this...
I'm Mark Christopher in the People's United Bank Traffic Center. Any traffic to worry about this evening, sir? Well, we got a few things going on.
This is one of the U.S. stations. I'm not sure the frequency exactly, but it does receive very well the stations from the U.S. when the...
Area Land Rover retailer for special offers during the season of adventure sales.
It's probably New York.
Now through January 2nd. Hey, Kalegi, have a great holiday weekend. And tell us what's going on with the Van Wyck.
Thank you, Carol. You as well. The Van Wyck Expressway right now on that.
Well, these are our U.S. stations.
A broken down car left lane block near City Field.
So you see that it receives very well stations. It's quite sensitive, honestly. It's not super in the FM band. My test that I always do in the FM band, and we're going to try it right now, is to receive 107.9 VPR station. I have a lot of difficulty getting that station on this radio. That gives me an idea that the FM stage on this thing is not the best. It actually overloads a lot. Just to give you guys an idea, if I take, I don't know which one I have here available working. Let's try it with the DGen D1106 just for the fun of it. I'll be curious to see if I can get the VPR station. I always collapse the antenna because there's so many strong FM stations here that, so here we go, 1079 FM, you just go to 1079 FM, what the hell? I'm getting the airband FM.
Stay with us. NPR News.
Look at that.
NPR News coming up in just a moment.
Really, really nice. And I mean, it works great. Look at that.
The consequences. And that, I think, is the reason that Secretary Mattis wrote that very powerful
And I mean, the antennas just almost collapsed. This is VPR in Burlington, Vermont. That's kind of 100 miles from here. And so this one's getting it really, really well. But you see, the Sony couldn't get it. So the FM stage isn't maybe the best that it could be. That's for sure. Fanny says, I remember there was an expensive Sony Shortwave with a printer to print out weather maps. Oh, wow. So, yeah, the sound is okay on the F10. If I had a choice, the Super Radio has a much better sound, though. So, you know. Erica Troll says, 2D battery would last with an analog radio like that. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. I remember when I purchased this radio, I've owned this Sony portable for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half. And I have the first set of D batteries. The only reason I changed them is because I thought, well, it's been a long time and I don't want the batteries to leak. And I changed the batteries because the radio was still turning on very well. And what happens is, you know, I always put a radio on to when I'm gone. I always leave a radio on to that people, if burglars come, they think somebody's at home. And I often leave that one on, which means sometimes it's on for like 12 hours at a time. And I think the first set of battery lasted. I mean, I changed it because I wanted to change it. Because I think the batteries have been in the radio for at least a year. And that radio still turned on and didn't complain about low battery. It was nuts. I think the only thing I remember when I changed the battery, because I turned it on and I left it on the station with a volume, certain volume. When I put the fresh batteries in, the volume was stronger. So it's like, oh, okay, there's more power here. But honestly, that radio doesn't take a lot of power, that's for sure. The weird part about it is today an AM/FM radio that's $30 that's an expensive radio almost. And one of the things that probably also brought me to this radio was that it does have a nice look to it. Actually, you guys can see that this is a kitchen radio, because when I cook and do stuff and sometimes need to tune and do stuff, there was some what looked like eggs on it. And there's something on that tuning dial. I need to clean this up. But, you know, it's part of those, you know, you get into a radio and you're like, oh, it looks nice. I'll take it. Just going to try it. Fanning Xenakis says, my Grundig 700 uses 4 D cells. They don't last very long, perhaps because, well, the Grundig 700 uses will use more battery than this little Sony. You know, I mean, it is a digital radio. It has a digital display and has more going for it probably. So, you know. David says, even my IC7100 transceiver DSP sounds different, tinnier than my ICR 8500 with the same signal, same filter bandwidth, and same external speaker. Although 7100 Angel single is great too. You know what, David? Here, the Yaesu FT450 that I've got has DSP in it. And same thing. I noticed that the sound is more, I find the sound more beautiful on my 8500, my Icon, for the same signal. But it, you know, the Yaesu improves a lot when you put it on an external speaker. When I put my realistic speaker, it does sound still quite good. Yeah. But it has that DSP harshness, I would say. There's kind of a harshness in the sound when the DSP. And there's tons of settings I need to learn to use on it. The FT450 is an amazingly complex radio. The manual is just so complicated. It's like, wow, you got to spend a lot of time with the radio. Just crazy. Dave Todd says, weather maps have been my passion for the past week, says the AirPlay virtual audio cable and FLDJ. Oh, it's a lot of fun to decode these weather maps. PLF radio, what is the gray or white radio lying on its back? Ah, the white one here. Well, this is a gift from Fastload in the chat. That's often in the chat room. This is just a weather radio. It's a Midland Weather Monitor 74109. And this is only for the weather band. And it has weather alert features. So if I turn it on, so this is the weather right now in French. And you can put it on alert, which turns on this little red light here on the left. And the red light means that if there's a weather alert, so they put the tones for the weather alert, it will actually break the squelch and I'll start listening to the weather. Or if I want, I can have it put a siren. So that means if there's a weather alert, this thing will either do a siren or will actually turn it on so that I can listen to the broadcast. It comes with a, now I'm using it right now with a 9-volt battery. That's in here. But it comes with its little power adapter. And for a long time, I actually had it on the power adapter and always left it in alert mode so that it could alert me for something. But the problem is, it doesn't happen that often. And at some point, I just took it off for some reason. Maybe I should put it back, you know, like on the shelf here with the power supply and leave it on alert mode. And if something comes up, but here alert mode is used mostly in the summertime because the alerts that we get are for heavy thunderstorms, or sometimes we'll have tornado alerts in the summertime when it's really hot and we get these really big thunderstorms. So it will be mostly in the summertime. But this is a weather radio, and it has the 7 channels of the weather channels in the 160 megahertz range, and it has alert is LED and alarm or voice. So it's really just a weather radio, and kind of cute, you know. And when it comes, I think, from Fastload's father, that didn't know what to do with it, and I when he saw that, he said, "Oh, that's something for Joe. He's gonna enjoy having that and having that around his shack." And I do. It's kind of nice to see this Midland weather monitor. And I think his father had purchased this somewhere in Florida or in the United States. This is not sold here. So this comes from the U.S. actually. So that's the radio. Marco Hugo Barsotti. Nice to have you here. On curiosity, did you have a DRM radio? Any thoughts on DRM? Okay, I don't have a specific DRM radio. There's a few of them, but I do have capability of listening to DRM broadcast with the software-defined receivers I've got, including the SDR Play. And my thoughts on DRM are very simple. It's a crappy mode that should not exist and is just polluting the shortwave bands with noise. Now, that said, I'm one of those that kind of like new technologies, which means I'm not saying that because I want to belittle a digital mode or anything. I'm saying that because DRM was pushed to these broadcasters, which spend a lot of money converting transmitters for DRM broadcasts with a technology that is very bad because unless you've got an amazingly good signal and a very low noise, it's almost impossible to decode. And the thing is, because it needs such a good signal, well, forget it. That's not a good mode for shortwave. Shortwave needs a digital mode that is capable with noisy conditions and fadings to still deliver at least a minimum of audio. And the thing is, DRM is not that. DRM is, DRM is very wide banded, so it interferes with stations that aren't close on the frequency. I think DRM is a bad technology, at least for shortwave. Maybe DRM could be something for local broadcasting. I know in Europe there are some stations that are talking of doing DRM in the 25 megahertz range and stuff like that. Maybe that could, but for shortwave, it's a really, really bad idea. And what I always want to say when people start talking about this is also the fact that you push DRM like it's going to save shortwave, and it's not. And the majority of people that listen to shortwave have cheap portable receivers that they don't want to spend too much money on. They're not going to buy a $400 DRM capable radio. And everybody that has DRM capability, there are all these DXers that have these high-end radios and sophisticated setups, which is not what shortwave is all about in real life with most people. So that's pretty much what I had to say. Oh, you can't access it. Okay, remote radio DX band. Now we understand. Oh, isn't there it? Because some radios are like that. If the radio is set to be in, is your medium wave band in 10 kilohertz increments or 9 kilohertz? Because I don't know. I don't know the DX, the HD XH data D808, but some radios that I own here will not give you the long wave capability if you're not set up correctly within the radio. An example, the GP5 SSB. If this is set to North America 10 kilohertz on medium wave, you don't get the long wave band on this thing. But if you set the medium wave 9 kilohertz, which is Europe, it opens up the long wave on the GP5 SSB. Maybe that's something that is also on the XH data. Maybe it's just the fact that you're not on the correct range to get it. I don't know if anybody can answer his question. Now it's interesting. How do you guys get the long wave band on an XH data D808? That is the real question here. That's what he wants to know. So that's the question. Okay, because that's the way you said it first. I jumped to the conclusion that you just didn't hear anything on the band. Well, that's interesting. Sakura DX, nice to have you on board from Japan. Don't worry, it's so early over there. So Raymond DX says I can switch to medium wave, but from there I'm supposed to be able to either switch to long wave with button press or type 225. So there must be something. There must be something to do here. Maybe somebody can help you. Fanny says, sounds good even over YouTube on that F10. Yeah, that's pretty surprising. Pretty surprising, absolutely. Brett Wayne says, I will try long wave on my 660 meter loop here in Salamanca, New York, and see if I can get anything. When the noise level was low, in the 80s, my first radio that had long wave was, I believe, the DX302 at long wave. And it was my first radio that I can actually listen to Longwave on, and I DX'd non-directional beacons from many parts when the noise was low. I remember DXing the long wave non-directional beacon out of Barbados, and hearing many long wave non-directional beacons from the United States. Today, all I hear is the local ones because the noise is too high. So David, out is two-bander on medium wave. I know some radios that just seem like typical AM/FM radios sometimes happen to be surprisingly good. This one is surprisingly good for medium wave. It receives very well medium wave, not for FM. On the FM part, really not. Take care, PLF Radio. Cottrell says, I usually leave a radio on when I leave, and most times the scanner in another part of the house. Yeah, I leave radio on also. Although here it's this year we got new neighbors here, and downstairs it's an old woman and a disabled son. So she's like here all the time. She's like retired or something, and so what's nice now is that there's always somebody below me, which means that the chances of me getting, having somebody steal something here is pretty remote. But when I purchased this radio, the Sony one, downstairs were two young kids that were almost never there. And on the other side over there was an old woman that was almost deaf, so she couldn't hear. There would have been somebody breaking in, and she would never hear it. So and because once many years ago, about 10 years ago here, somebody tried to break in from the back in here, and by chance, totally by chance, I was home. I was getting home. I was unlocking the door here, and I heard noise in the back. And while I was entering in the front, somebody was breaking in the back, but they heard noise and they just ran off. Which means if I would have arrived here like an hour later, 2 hours later, I would have gotten tons of things stolen. I would have been devastated. So that's why I wanted to have, to always have noise, and I always leave lights on. It's funny because people tell me, well, why is there a light in every room of your house? Well, because people have the impression there's someone there. Why not? So it's kind of interesting. Nick Mayakovsky says, a guy in New York City was picking up WEAV Plattsburgh, New York for 960. I didn't think it would be possible unless WEAV boosted its strength. Can you get it in Montreal? Plattsburgh, New York, I can get it at 960 in the daytime. Now in the nighttime it's going to be complicated, but in the daytime, I believe I've heard that station a few times. I get 620 out of Burlington, I believe. I got a few stations in the daytime that are about roughly 100. And remember one thing: in the nighttime with propagation, it's totally possible somebody in New York gets 916 Plattsburgh. Totally possible. Max S. Strong says, I always leave my Yaesu FRJ7 on when I leave the house to scare away burglars. Monolithic Dome, nice to have you here. Breaker 19. That reminds me of my CB days. Mark Cope as the Cuban lady on 10715. Let's check it out here. Do I have 10715? There's a carrier. So I don't know if she's already stopped, but there is a carrier there. Brett Wayne says, I have a Sony FTM 1000 WA that has 4D batteries, and they have been there for 3 years. Still works great. Yeah, the only reason, Brett, that I changed them, after a year, I figured that, not to take any chances and that the batteries could leak. Eric Cottrell, yeah, igloos in Montreal are melting today. Like I was saying, if you missed the beginning of the show, Eric, we're gonna have we're not gonna have a white Christmas this year. There's not gonna be any snow. There's no more snow in Montreal at all with all the rain we're getting today, and it's plus 5 degrees right now. So we're in the early 40s, and there was not a lot of snow on the ground actually. There was a very thin cover, so it doesn't take a lot to actually. It doesn't take a lot to to melt it all. So no snow, no white Christmas this year. And it looks like we're not going to have that much of a snow between Christmas and New Year's too. But it is going to be a little colder. Max says, can the Texan PL880 use any other battery other than the lithium battery it's supplied with? I don't believe it can. It's a very unique battery. David says, indeed, Joe, yes, obviously using the external speaker on the IC7100 is an improvement too. Yeah, that's what I see on my on the Yesu here. Secret DX, has anybody ever exchanged inner backup battery of the AR7030 Plus? I asked about the battery of the AR. They are talking it over now. If I am ready with the new battery, they might help. I do hope so. Yeah, Raymond Radio DX. Because it needs several seconds to, and if it drops out. I've never had a successful decode. The best I've had here was sometimes I will have actually the ID. So it's gonna tell me, for example, oh, Radio Romania. And so it decodes, it can get the ID, but I never get the full decode to go through. So it ends up by just giving me an ID with no sound or anything. Yeah, 18650s are really, really common batteries. They're very easy to find, absolutely. Absolutely. Dan Robinson says on the question about 7030, you can get the barrel replacement battery at Mega Batteries, apparently. Radio DX man, tried both 9 and 10 color settings, neither allows me to tune into the Longwave data. That's weird. There must be something that you haven't seen or done. Because, I mean, it's there. Well, I don't own one, so I can't help you. Juan amigo. Nice to see you, my friend from Barcelona. ¿Cómo está? Brett Wayne says, my scanner is on all the time, 24/7, 365. The echo is gone now? Really? Is the echo gone? Johnny the Xer? That's interesting. Maybe it wasn't the computer. Maybe it was the YouTube glitch that's happening. Donald Hosmer says, on the D808, per the manual, long wave, medium wave button, when the radio is powered off, press and hold for 2 seconds to turn on or off long wave. So when your radio is turned off, you gotta press it for 2 seconds to turn on or turn off long wave. With the radio on, quickly press the switch between long wave and medium wave bands. Huh. Maybe you're just remote, remote radio DX, man. It is always hard to admit, when there's this little something like this, and you're like, well, I've had this thing for a while and I've not been able to do it, and then somebody comes up and says, well, this is how you do it. I remember a long time ago, I had one of my a Radio Shack scanner, And I go to, what did I go to a friend of mine that has the same one. And I knew that that scanner had some, I don't remember what was the thing, of some kind of, you could unlock like a frequency range that was locked by doing button things. And I had read tons of things on it, and I was doing all the maneuvers and everything. It never did work. And I was like, no, it doesn't work. I don't know. So I go to my friend's house, and he takes mine and he says, oh, why you unlock that frequency range? And I'm like, well, I tried, it doesn't work. And you just like beep, 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 beep on the keyboard, and it's like, here you go. I was like, okay, I look like an idiot right now. It's like, I never understood how to do it. And you take 2 seconds, you press 5 buttons, and I've got it now. There are things sometimes that you're like, yeah, okay. We don't like to admit it, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes there's just a little something we haven't seen. Sometimes it's often a very little thing that we just, kind of didn't see. +5 centigrade in Denmark also. So we've got the same weather, except here it's raining quite a lot right now, from what I see outside. Hey, one amigo. Yeah, well, since the beginning, the sound has been weird here, and I don't know why. Hey, Fastlow, nice to have you here. Since the beginning of the show, there's some kind of echo. I've nothing changed. I checked my settings. I have one microphone only. There's no audio back. I still don't understand why I've got an echo of some sort. It's very, very bizarre. I'm going to have to test it out or do something. I streamed out, streamed back in case it was just streaming. It's very weird. I don't know why it does. And I don't want to spend too much time trying to figure it out. When everybody told me, look, it sounds fine anyway, you can continue like that, I thought, well, I'll leave it like that, Scott Collier, nice to have you here from Missouri. Nice to have you on board. Yes, this show is very helpful, absolutely. I mean, we have, it's, we can help each other and have a lot of, we have, some answers for a lot of questions. Hirofumi Yokoyama, nice to have you on board from Japan. Good morning. Here it's evening. We're 5:30 p.m. local time here. We're at the beginning of the evening, if you want so. So, Max Estrog, the sage old advice, read the manual. Yeah, but even when you read the manual, sometimes there's something you just, you might see it press this button for 2 seconds, but you kind of didn't see when the radio is powered off, you got to press it for 2 seconds. There's these little things sometimes that you're like, what the hell? So, yes, Matt. Absolutely. David did get his hand ticket. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to try to Google my issue. And rainy and +18. Wow, it's almost 70 in Erica's. Amazing. Yeah, I know, Fastload. It's weird. It started off like that, and I listened through on my phone. I listened to the stream on my phone, and yeah, there's some weird feedback going back. But I made sure I've got only one microphone working. I disabled everything else. It's so weird. I don't get it why it's like that. I've played with all the settings. One microphone, nothing's changed. Everything's like it is usually. The camera's microphone is off. I don't know. It's so weird. So weird. Scott Collier says, I just flashed an old Chromebook with Linux Mint. Does anyone have a good SDR program for Linux that they've used successfully? I forgot the name of the one that is for Linux. GNU Radio, fast load, GNU Radio. GNU Radio. Chris Tigzav, nice to have you. You are from Romania. Nice to have you here. Matambali says, it sounds honestly like your laptop speakers are just slightly on because the echo only happens on peaks. And when the level is truly loud, we hear feedback. That is weird. And my speakers are not. I even have an X on my speaker icon to say, hey, they're off. You know what? I have the impression that when I switched off stereo mix didn't turn off completely. It's the impression I've got, as if stereo mix stayed there and kind of fiddles with the sound. Yet in the Wirecast software, it says there's only one microphone. It's very bizarre. Very bizarre. Eric Cottrell says there may be a delay in monitor speakers since you get a bad feedback if you move a certain way. This is weird. Because I ain't listening to myself at all here. At all. And I don't hear myself, so there's nothing playing myself back. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I'm going to have to see this week if I can... I'll have to do a special stream one day to see if it's still there. Because I don't get it. I don't know why it does that. It's almost as if I've... It's almost as if I should have restarted the computer when I switched off all the microphone stuff. Elizabeth, nice to have you here. Greetings. We've got the Cuban number station on 10715. 10715, Miss Lady Numbers is there. Dirty Diaper 21, nice to have you here. And you know, he says that he gets comments that when he goes live, he sounds like he's underwater. Merry Christmas, my friend. Mick, hey, nice to have you here. I think there's a CIA wiretap. That's the thing. Nice to have you on board, Mick. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen you. Yeah, there's nothing. Everything is off. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. The worst is, you know what? I actually, because I thought, well, okay, maybe I'll lower the sensitivity of the microphone, and it didn't change anything. And here, when I look at the level, because I can see the levels, my audio level isn't stronger than usual. It's actually lower than usual because I did lower the volume level. There's something fishy happening here. My impression is something I disabled is not disabled. It says disabled, but it's not. Fanny Xanakis, lovely. I love number stations. Cool. Raymond Radio DX says, just check the Longwave band on my thankfully well-working XH data. It's remarkable to have my state-only party broadcaster on 2:25 a.m. noisy and not at all for Romania on 153. Well, at least you're happy. Your radio's working out. Really nice. No, not a new shack. It's just because we're going through some of my radios. So I'm at the part of the shack where the radio is, because usually I'm on that side. If you guys want to see, I'm going to show you. So this is because I'm showing radios here, because usually we do the shows from over there. That's where we are normally. But because I'm showing the radios, I'm over here. And of course, over there is where I used to be. So you guys see that there's a lot of stuff going on here. A lot of stuff going on here. Let's put it more like towards the door here. So that's the different places around the office where I do stuff. Oh man. Yeah, but everything's disabled, Dirty Diaper. That's the first thing I looked to disable everything. Elizabeth says, I got an Eton Grenic BT for Christmas and ran a 60-foot sloper to the backyard metal fence. Am I supposed to tie off the wire to the fence in any particular way? Thanks so much for the channel. Okay, so if the fence is made of metal, you need to make sure that it doesn't touch the metal of the fence. So what I did, because I have a metal fence in my backyard, I put a wooden broomstick on the fence that I clamped on the fence, and the sloper ends on the wood a few feet above the metal fence so that it doesn't interact with the metal fence, because the metal fence might interact with your sloper antenna, and actually it could even induce more noise. So you could use a plastic. There's a lot of you can buy a plastic broom and use a plastic broomstick. Just put it on the fence somehow, tie it to the fence, and put the wire on the top of the plastic or the wooden broomstick. That's what I did here, and it's about 12 feet high at the lowest point. Just make sure it doesn't touch the metal fence, because it might degrade rather than enhance your signal. Neeson Greenwich, nice to have you on board from Dublin. Nice to have you on board from Dublin. What else do we have? F4 IDL, nice to have you on board, my friend. Yes, I do have one of those calculators for dummies. It's been there for a while and I never use it. It was just because it was huge and I thought that it was kind of nice to see and have on a door here. Because I probably used that 2 times in the whole time that I have been owning it. And it still does work perfectly. Eric Cottrell says, I hope all my Quebec friends travel safely for the holidays. Looks like nasty weather next couple of days. Well, it's mostly today because we had some freezing rain last night, which rapidly turned into rain this morning. And you know what? I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning because my cat wanted to eat. And I looked outside. I was thinking that we're going to see like tons of ice everywhere. Actually, there wasn't even a little bit of ice on my antenna. So I was like, oh, okay. Not as bad as they thought. And it's getting better tomorrow. And after that, it's like sunny, but just a little cold for the next few days for Christmas. So Matt says, nice music on Radio Guinea, 9650. Not a strong signal though. 9650, let's try that. Did I hear it? I've got nothing on 9650. Bobby Burga's got an okay signal on 9650. No problem, Elizabeth. Just make sure it doesn't touch the metal fence. And it should work really well. Use anything. If you got a piece of wood or anything, and that at least puts it like 4 or 5 feet above, or some plastic pole or something. Anything that doesn't conduct. Nothing. Don't put a metal pole. And it's going to be perfect. As long as it doesn't touch the fence itself. So when you raise your voice, it really makes the echo sound prominent. It really sounds like you're shouting from the back of a cave. I know. I was listening to myself on my phone when everybody started saying there was an echo. And it sounds so weird. It really sounds like I'm in some room with some kind of really huge echo, as if there would be some other way that the sound is coming through or coming in. I don't get it. Even the camera's microphone is off. I don't get it. I'll have to do a few tests this week for sure. My neighbor watching the show. Yeah, probably. Fastload is downstairs on his brand new FT991. Oh, going downstairs. So Secretary DX is back from the sea now. Sea was terrible in bad weather. Could not even think about the matter at all. Besides, maybe with the heavy rolling when you get up, I always had a headache. Yeah, oh man, I would be sick as hell in a boat rocking back and forth in the sea. I would be totally really totally sick all the time. Can tell you that. Elizabeth is picking up 9650. Pretty cool. John Palmer, back to the HF bands after a while. And great to hear Deutsche Welle English on WRMI. Yeah, they've been broadcasting that, and nice to have you on board, John Palmer. They've been broadcasting that for a while on WRMI. I'm hearing it. 93.95. 93.95 Deutsche Welle, English, and or DW as they like to call them. They're actually rebroadcasting the World Radio Network on that frequency from time to time, which is very nice. Actually, you know what? Would be really, really cool if WRMI would put a couple of frequencies on and just leave the World Radio Network 24 hours. That would be nice because we would hear tons of stations and tons of broadcasts all the time. It would be very, very cool. But I've heard that broadcast a few times. It's nice to have DW in English. 93, 95 kilohertz, absolutely. Yeah, Security X, you probably have the North Korean station here on 9650 back in Japan. John Palmer says very strong signal here in Maryland. Here it's S9, S9 plus 10. Some fade outs, but good enough to listen to the program actually. Good enough to really have a listen to the program, 93, 95. Keep it to a hobby. Nice to have you here. Hello, Shortwave Geek. Nice to have you. Nice to know that I am not the only radio listener. I use National Panasonic DR28 with SSB BFO, just an old radio. It's perfect. Nice to have you from Germany. Keep it to a hobby. And you know, it's perfect. The radio that you have, that you use, is the radio that, you know, you listen to the world with it. And that's the important thing. Keep it like, you know, just having fun. As long as you have fun. You know, unfortunately, there's too many. I won't call them haters, but when you go to Facebook groups, and you know, I am a member of several Facebook and radio groups, and what's interesting is I always see that negative comments from some of the viewers, some of the Facebook guys, or some of the people that interact on the groups. Always whining about, well, there's nothing on shortwave. Why the hell are we listening to shortwave? And there's nothing there, and you're wasting your time. And it's like, you know what? If that's the way you feel about shortwave, leave the hobby and leave it to the others that feel that they want to listen in, they have fun with it. Because you're not helping out. And you know what? Ranting about shortwave is dead, I don't know what it actually brings to the hobby or any group. It just, you know, when I see that, I just like boot the guy out of the group. What is he doing there? I mean, come on. If you're not happy, do something else. Go play golf or something. I don't know. And so when I do this show, and we were talking about it at the beginning of the show, we were talking about. I remember seeing, you know, someone post. Well, all I hear is, you know, religious stations, Cuba and China radio. Well, there's a lot more than that, and there's a way of listening in, and one of the things and one of the ways of listening in is lowering your noise level. Like I was saying at the beginning, there's a lot of stuff on the shortwave bands. Just go to a place where it's quiet, and you're going to suddenly see that bands are alive with signals. Because a lot of them are just buried in the noise, and that's the sad part of our hobby. Noise is higher than before, you know? So it's just crazy. What else do we have? Dan Robinson says, that's good advice. The radio you have is the radio you use. These days of waning shortwave activity, almost any receiver can do the work. Absolutely. And you know what? One of the things we don't have to worry too much today that we were talking at the beginning of the show is selectivity. When in the 80s or the 70s, stations were all jam-packed close to each other. Of course, selectivity was extremely important because that the stations were so close together, it was difficult. So, you know, when I listened into shortwave with my DX100 here, I mean, one of the first things you notice is, man, I can't tune in to signals. Is that Spain? No, that's Radio Marti, I would guess. I was gonna check that. 96. Whoops. I'm just gonna go to 9690 here for a second. 9690. 9690. 9690. Wow, that's Radio Marti 9565, I guess. Yeah. So Radio Marti 9565. So, funniest thing is, this thing. So, when I was listening to the bands with this was, the selectivity of this is so bad, it was difficult to make out different stations and have them, you know, separated from each other. It was just crazy. Today, at least, that's not a problem anymore. Hey, Kimberly K6YYL, my brother just passed away on Wednesday morning. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so sad. He got him into ham radio. He got his technician license. It's called his KK6GUY. Oh, so sad. Kimberly, take care, and you know what? My thoughts are with you. And there's something about that, something like that also happening. You know, when it's, as we were talking last week, you know, I was talking about my mother that died and my sister that died. And somehow my sister affected me much more than my mother for some reason. And but I don't know, somehow, you know, it's when it happens in a holiday season like this, it's like it suddenly changes totally, you know, the way we feel and the way we think about it. But so my thoughts are with you, Kimberly. Totally. I mean, it's really, really sad. And you gotta hang in. 55 years old. You know, it's like my sister. She was like 56 or 57, I think, when she died. So young. You know, it's so young. And really, really, I'm there with you, Kimberly. I can tell you that. So, cheers to life and to somebody who was probably an amazing person in your life, Kimberly. So, keep it to a hobby, as his first QSL card. His first QSL card was from CHU Canada. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, so sorry. And you know what? It's nice that you share it with us because it's something that sometimes, you know, I've always been a guy that always was um, very personal with his emotions for different reasons. For a long time, I had a lot of difficulty, you know, giving my emotions and my feelings to somebody else. I would just ball up and keep it inside and you know, like cry in my little world alone in a corner where nobody sees me for a very long time. That was, you know, and it's part of the way I was brought up in my family. You know that thing about men don't cry. You know, a man doesn't cry. A man never shows that. You know, which is totally bogus and totally stupid. Uh, a man should be able to cry, and it feels good to cry, I think, from time to time. Um, and it's fun that, you know, you came here and you shared that with us because I like the fact that you kind of, you know, came here and thought it was okay to just share that with us. It's not something that you often want to do, you know, share it with a lot of people. And I appreciate that you did it. And I hope that at the same time as you're sharing your, you know, painful moment with us, that it also helps you, you know, go through it better. I mean, well, it always takes some time to go through all of that. And you know, I saw a post on Facebook the other day that was totally the truth. Um, the post said, "The hell with people that tell me time heals all." You know, because no, time does not heal everything. There are some things that it never does heal, but time will make the pain less of a problem, and it's still going to be there. And you know, like my sister, um, even though it's been 7 years, going to be 8 years in April of 2019, my sister. Well, even though it's 8 years, I don't want anyone to tell me, well, you know, time is healing your. No. If I think too much about it, if I spend too much time going there, no, I'm still brokenhearted with that. It's just that as time goes by, you think about it less, and we got to move on. Also, you know, I mean, we have our own lives, and one of the things that I always like to think in moments like these is that remember one thing: your brother, your mother, anybody that died that you love deeply. One of the things they really would want to is that you don't feel too sad and that you live your life happy and do the best darn you can to be happy for the rest of it. And everybody, I think, that dies doesn't want the others to be sad. They want the others to continue and do all the things. And I think you got to take this occasion to, you know, see that life is precious and we never know when it's going to end for all of us. You know, I'm going to be 50 in the month of March. And I've had people that I've actually been friends with in my life that died at, you know, crazy early ages. You know, a friend of mine died at 27. I've had one of my deep friends that I did a lot of things with that died a couple of months ago. It's funny because I spent a full year with that friend and we did crazy things together. And then our lives got separated. And I would always think I need to call him. I need to say, I need to call him back and say hi. And, you know, there's one thing in life that I always tell my friends I'm a bad friend, because I'm so absorbed with everything I do that I tend to not spend enough time with the people that I should spend more time with. And that caught me with that friend. That friend died a couple of months back. And I learned it through somebody that just emailed me and says, oh, by the way, did you know that, you know, he passed away? And it hurt me terribly, because it was like, wow, I, for years, thought I should get back and contact that person, and I never did. And I felt hurt. I felt like a bad person for not taking that opportunity when I thought about it to take that darn phone and call him and say hi and how are you? And all that happened is, well, now he's gone, so I can't do that anymore. So, you know, there are sad moments like this, but we gotta remind ourselves that we have our own lives, and that this means, you know, life is fragile. You never know when it's going to happen. We never know when each of us here are going to die. And we got to do the best we can. And the people that we love deeply that are gone want us to be the happiest people in the world and do the darn most beautiful things that we could do with our lives. And that's it. And I'm going to stop here because I'm going to start crying. Oh, man. I do have the emotions lately in this level that you got to be very careful. Because in the past few months, in the past year, I've gone through a lot of stuff that keeps my emotions in a zone where I can easily go from I'm the happy guy to I'm going to cry my life out. Ah, man. Crazy. As Shortwave Info dropped their world map, I never used that resource, so let me just check it out here. Short-wave.info. I'm gonna go there. I don't think they did, but I'm gonna check it out right here. Check it out right here. No more beer. Hey, beer time. The end of the world. Eric says, I think a sibling may be tougher because you're closer in age. Loss of a parent is tough as well. My mom is still alive, but she is the last of her siblings. My dad died in 2004. There's a mix of that. You know what, Eric? Because my mom, I was the one that took care of my mom until the end. And I was sad when she died, but for some reason, the taking care of part prepared me for the fact that I could see that the days are numbered. And even though I was sad, I was in a mode of, well, it's going to happen in the next couple of months, I know. And I wondered if that probably gave me the time to grieve it, to go through it. And when she died, there was no surprise or anything. My sister was more of a surprise because it happened quickly. It was okay. She got breast cancer, so it's like, oh, okay. Is everything going to be okay? And it seemed like, I mean, they operated and everything, and for a year it was beautiful. And then one day she woke up this morning and half of her face is like swollen twice the size, and she goes to the hospital, and the hospital tells her, well, you got cancer. You know, like at several parts in your body. It's like it at times just spread everywhere. And that it was too late. And it was very fast from there. It was like, I think the fact that we were close, me and my sister were very close. But the fact that also it was quick and surprising. It doesn't give you the time to think about anything. It's just too fast, you know? And it's tough. The toughest is at the beginning, like you say, Eric. But if we start thinking about it, we're still sad. There's still something there. If I still, you know, you guys, I'm going to tell you guys something. You're going to laugh. It's not funny. It's funny. It's funny, not funny. But I want to take it to the funny side of it. But if I drink a few beers and there's by chance I hear a song that my sister loved, man, I start crying like a baby. And even 8 years later, it's still the same. It never changed. It's like, okay, I don't know. I just can't handle it. G3ZEM. Nice to have you here. Amen. Yeah, crying is, you know. But, you know, guys, we are all, we're brought up in different ways. And you know, my family, my dad is the kind of guy that's, you know, tough guy. You don't cry. And you got to be a man. And I think it kind of messed up, you know, who I am and how I should deal with my emotions, honestly. So short, we've done info. Let me check that out. So I'm going to find a frequency here. Okay, if I click here, I'm going to put a frequency here in kilohertz. 395, enter. Okay, yeah, it's more of a list kind. There must be a way to bring back the... yeah, there's no map. I understand what you're saying. I don't know. Here I see is a list showing up of all the stations in the broadcast, but I don't see a map. You're right. Psychedelics, next weekend I am scheduled on board. I will say goodbye to 2018 and hello to 2019 on the ship. I'm not able to go shrine and thank you and pray this year. You know what, Psychedelics? That's an unusual and interesting way to get to the new year, and I hope that you enjoy that. Bobby says, lost my mom liver cancer last year in August. I drilled a hole in my heart. Yeah. So sad. Kimberly says, right, I really want to see him again. Luckily, he lived very close to us. He was my crazy brother. Yeah, cancer does suck. Absolutely. Remember the X-Men. By the way, we're going to have a national mourning here in PL this Sunday. 13 miners died. Man. Where was the, there was, you know what, you're talking about the miners that died, and there was an article today about miners in the United States that are dying of all sorts of disease because they're just not taken care of correctly. Oh, man. Ramon Alberto Espinal would appreciate to know the frequency this conversation has been broadcasted. Well, it's broadcasted over YouTube Live. Oh, man. Dan Robinson says, this is very true. I lost a few high school childhood friends, and when people suddenly go, you're in shock, but often you have not done enough to stay in touch. Never assume. Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I realized. Because I'm always pushing the barrier. I'm the kind of guy that, you know, I got some great friends. I mean, Fastlone is one of the great persons in my life. And we don't see each other that often. And it's a big part of that is me. Because he's the kind of guy that I would call or just text and say, hey, tonight, a few beers at your place or a few beers at my place. And it would happen. He's that kind of guy. But I'm the kind of guy that you know, always pushes the barriers of everything, and always like, well, you know, it's just, you know, we'll see each other soon and everything. But you know, life goes fast, and at some point you're like, okay, well, you know, you're gone, and that's what happens. You know, really, really crazy. Red Wayne says, my brother's gone 3 years now. Got me my GP5 SSB. Ah, man, that's something to keep. Absolutely. It's like that radio is has a special meaning now for you. Kimberly says, my mom feels like that also. The night before my brother died, my mom was doing to call him, but she didn't want to disturb him because she worked the next day. Now she feels so sad. Yeah, but you can't. Also, at the same time, you can't feel bad about the fact that you didn't do something. Yeah, emotional show. Absolutely, absolutely. I didn't think it would end like this. Hey, Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Secretary Access from the sea is possible. I'm going to join the show here and meet you. Thanks for everything you do. Hope you all will have a pleasant time on Christmas. Yeah, Christmas Eve, friends and family, including Fastload. It's going to be an occasion to see Fastload and to show him that I'm not that bad of a friend. Oh, man. 9690 should be Radio Exterior de España in English. I've got a very something in the noise. Unfortunately, that frequency for this time of year is too bad for here. High 40s, low 50s. Here it's pretty much that, but we're having a lot of rain here. It's okay, guys. Matt says really good signal. Wow, it's interesting. You guys get the signal. I don't. There's almost nothing here. Really crazy. Oh, man. Max says, Troy, my brother and I were supposed to go on a fishing trip shortly before he died, and I had to cancel due to work. Still haunts me. Yeah, there are things like that sometimes. Sakura X says, what shall I say to you? To lose acquaintance brings tough time to anybody, so we should be nice to people around us. Absolutely. Absolutely. Eric says, I agree. I took care of my mom, and she had to go into a nursing home because she broke her hip. Her dementia causes me to grieve, even though she is still alive. She still knows who I am. So, you know, it's still something that that is painful when they go away. But when you took that time to take care, you kind of prepared yourself. And that's the thing. Anything that's sudden is just like, whoa. Hey, Kevin Wood. Nice to have you on board. We're 3 hours and 8 minutes into the show now. Oh, don't be sorry at all, Kimberly. You know what? You made me change a little bit my mood, but it's totally all right. And I think, you know, they say there's group therapy. I think this is group therapy right now. We're all just, you know, kind of. Actually, it's a good therapy because it's when something like that happens, we feel alone with it. We feel that we're the ones grieving and the ones that are sad. And that the world outside is some weird thing. I remember the night that my mom died. The doctor called me at 3 o'clock in the morning. The phone was ringing. I got up, and the first thing that I thought was, my mom's gone. It was automatic. It was, my mom's gone. I took the phone. I pick up the phone. The doctor says, that my mom died and everything, and I was convinced it was that. So I called up my sisters and my brother and said, "Look, mom died. It's our last time to say goodbye. She's if you want to go to the hospital." And we went to the hospital, and of course, seeing somebody dead is a weird thing. Even when it's your mom, it's bizarre. It's something that nobody ever prepared you to live through. And I remember I saw her, and I said goodbye. I went outside. I was outside the hospital, and it was on January, in the month of January. It was cold, and there was a little bit of snow falling. And I was outside the hospital, and I was waiting for my my brother and my sisters. I was all alone in the corner street, just next to the hospital, and I still had that feel. Everything around me was surreal, almost as if what's happening around right now is something else that I'm not part of for a moment. It was so weird of a moment. It was nuts. And I remember that feel, and I remember that instant. When I think about it, I have it. I have the feel of it. The snow falling. It was maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. It was dark. Seeing people walking. Remember, there was like a guy and a girl that passed by, smiling, talking to each other. And I was like in a mode of, this is weird. This is so bizarre of a moment. And the same thing kind of happened with my sister. When she passed away, we got out of the hospital. And I remember my brother was there. Me and my brother are very close. And I remember me and my brother, we looked at each other, and we thought exactly the same thing. My sister wanted us to be happy, even though it's a sad moment. So we went to a bar, we drank beer like there's no tomorrow, and I probably ate like 100 chicken wings that evening. And I remember my brother looking at me and said, "Man, we're drinking like nuts." And I said, "You know what? I'm happy. I'm with my brother. We're having fun, even though it's a weird moment. And I just don't care. I'm gonna eat 100 chicken wings. I don't care. The hell with it." And it was kind of interesting moment. Just one of those things that you live through one time in your life, and you're like, yeah, just crazy. Okay, let's try to be a little more positive. Man. Remote Radio DX Man says 93.95 Supreme Master TV. They oh yeah, and you know that praising vegan lifestyle. They actually were the other day. I crossed one of those broadcasts from Supreme Master TV where they were saying that all the animals are beautiful in this world, and we got to take care. It's kind of interesting. Radio Exterior España, Elizabeth, is 9690 kilohertz. Let me try 93.95. Well, 93.95 is packing a good signal here from WRMI. Fanny says, right, it's group therapy. It's part of life. Absolutely. And you know what? It's better to live some of these feelings with others than just leave it alone. I think you know what? It's funny how things are turning tonight and the end of the show like this. But at the same time, I'm right now in a moment where I have a lot of difficulty smiling. And you know what? It feels good. It feels good because, like I say, I never talk about my personal life really. And it's kind of cool to feel and have everybody together here. Love you all, by the way. It's an honor for me doing this to have met virtually all of you and for all of you to be such amazing people in my life. Even though you're all far away, we're not that far actually. We're in a, there's a chat room and we're living through something with our own hobbies that are just gathering us together. Cheers, everybody. Love you all, okay? And I want to thank everybody for being here. And thank you for, the donations for the year. Thank you for everything. I went through this year, tons of live shows and everything. It could not be done without you out there. Cheers. Elizabeth is pulling 96.90, but just barely Anchorage. Lucky you, I don't even have it here in Montreal. Max S. Rock says, all the world's great religions teach that suffering is real, life is painful, and ends in sickness and death. Modern culture seeks to deny this reality with drugs and diversions. NW7 US, nice to have you on board. Keep your eyes on the road. Eric Cottrell says, I had the same type of surreal feeling as well. Took a couple of days to realize that life goes on. It does, absolutely. Absolutely. And you got to take that moment to also realize that you have your own life. And life is short. And if there are things you want to do, you got to do them. Because I'm going to tell you, it's just crazy. Keegan says, I don't suppose Supreme Master TV is a TV shows on the shortwave radio. I don't know. It's weird that it's called Supreme Master TV, I got to say, Keegan. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you got. I know you love me back. I am totally sure of that. It feels like it. I can tell you that. Yes, I met a few of us in person, including you, Eric. Absolutely, which is really, really nice. Really, really nice. And if I had one wish, honestly, it would be to meet more of you and meet every single person that I've actually had here. And the chat would be nice. Oh, man. Suburb Flyer 1. Let's have you here. Mr. Jacques, nice to have you here from Lisbon. The surreal feeling you talk about is something I know very well. I suffer from a form of autism, and that is my usual normal way of being. Life feels like an alien's dream. Kind of nice. Keegan, cheers his phone before a live studio audience. Oh, man. Redwing had wings and pizza today, the workday, Christmas party. Cool. Wings and pizza. How can it go wrong? WTWW playing holiday songs. Yeah, they've been playing a lot of holiday songs over the past for sure. Ronald Hester loves my big cat, loves all cats. Yeah, Paul the cat is nice. He's a beautiful cat. Danny, Shortwave Radio DX, nice to have you on board. From Yonkers, New York. Pretty cool to have everybody here. And, James Hauser, nice to have you here. Life is never the same when mom is gone. I think, things change when you lose your parents and all of that. Yes, I know, Eric. I've been talking about that with Sheldon. Unfortunately, a series of little personal things makes it very, very difficult. Very difficult for me to attend. But one of the things that I want to, and that's what I told Sheldon, I'll be 50 years old in March. And one of the things that I want to try to get done is that in that 50 years, there are several things that I want to have that I've never done before. So one of the things in my 50 years will be to get my ham license. The other thing will be that in my 50 years, get to the Shortwave Winterfest, which I've never been, and even Sheldon tells me how I will enjoy myself. And my pledge also is that if I go to Winterfest, I will have a live show from Winterfest. That I promise. I will do a live show from the Winter Shortwave Festival. I think everybody would be happy with that. It would be a nice thing to do. So, you know. David says, cheers everyone. My only remaining grandfather is 98 and he could be gone anytime now. He survives for the moment, but in need of lots of attention. So, you know, we got to enjoy life. I can tell you that. Radio comms, cheers. Red Wayne says, this is like ham radio. I wish I could meet all of you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Matt says, partial India radio being reported East Coast listeners on 4065. 4065. Well, I got a signal. I do have a signal on 4065. With some Indian music right now. It's very weak, but I got 4065. There's some music right now. 4065. I'm hearing it. It's not very strong, but I'm hearing it. I'm actually hearing it better by putting myself in upper sideband. I just put myself in upper sideband. Look at that. It's a Christmas song. It's a Christmas song, like the 12 Days of Christmas or something. It's the 12 Days of Christmas. Some version of 12 Days of Christmas. Ray Kelly says swing carry on 4065 Nova Scotia. Verdun is stronger at 4055. Kevin Wood getting 4065 here in Nova Scotia, just above the noise. Eric says, yes, a live show would be great. I know what you mean, as there is some travel and other things I want to do. Life is a complex thing, and there's a few things. Actually, I'll talk to you about it, Eric, if you ever come to the CIDX again next year. There's also a personal thing that's making it complicated. So it's not always easy to do things. Matt says we should either organize a convention of Joe fans or maybe just all go to the Shortwave convention that happens near Philadelphia in the early spring. I'm forgetting what that one is called. Philadelphia is the Shortwave Festival. It's the next year is the 32nd annual Shortwave Festival in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania. That's the big one. Keegan has nothing on 4065. Remote radio, the X-Man says, yes, some people listening to 4065 Westminster MD SDR. Eric says, taking care of my mom has curtailed my travel over the past years. I want to see more of US and Canada. I like to see more of the US. I've been up and down the East Coast. I went all the way down to Florida. But I want to see the rest of it. I've not traveled to the United States since... Last time I went to the US was in 1998. That's 20 years ago. and I haven't been there in such a long time. Hey, Andy Coley, 2E0REE. Merry Christmas, absolutely. Mark Cope's got New Orleans Coast Guard on 4316, upper sideband. I'm trying to get what he's talking about. I hear the talking right now. .4065 kilohertz. Kind of interesting. I'm trying to see what's on. Oh, cool, Eric. Well, we'll see each other for sure next summer. I don't want to miss any one of those CIDS barbecues. Well, the funny thing, Kimberly, K64 Royale, is that in 1998, I didn't need a passport. You know, I find that so sad because, you know what I loved about going to the US in the 90s? Me and my brother would just wake up one morning and he would look at me and say, want to go to Burlington, Vermont? Or Plattsburgh or whatever? And I was like, yeah, sure. We just get in the car and go to the US. Who cares? We just go in and come back. That was the beautiful time when you just hopped in the car, went to the US wherever you wanted, and came back. It was so cool. Nothing complicated. Everything was beautiful. Elizabeth says, I so want to sell my house and move into a van and go to all the shortwave, Star Trek, and Civil War enactment conferences. There's so many things in life, you know, that we want to do. I can tell you that. Oh, really? The feedback was really intense? Wow. I actually need to get my passport. I need to get my passport now. Maybe it's when I put on the pirate stuff. Yeah, Kimberly, that was the good old days. Absolutely, that was so cool. You decided tomorrow morning, hey, how about tomorrow go to the United States, and we just, you know. Brett Wade says 4316 S5 in New York. Let me just try 4316 for a moment. 4316. It's about S7 here. S8 almost. 4316 for the New Orleans Coast Guard weather. But I will go back to 4065. Kind of curious about 4065. Eric says, 90s were great. You could just cross the border. It is amazing that some of my friends' cousins who live in the Lake Placid area did not go to Canada for the day until my friends took them. It was great. I mean, it was just, I remember these moments as so cool because, you know, I remember because the Radio Shack in the US had different stuff than the Radio Shack in Canada. And I remember that sometimes when I didn't feel, because, you know, at that time, you know, so I was young, so I was like, sometimes my brother would say, yeah, you want to go to the US? And I was like, nah, I'm not sure I want to go. He said, we're going to go to Radio Shack in Plattsburgh. I was like, okay, we're going to go to Radio Shack in Plattsburgh. I'm going to the US now. And I always wanted to go to the Radio Shack in Plattsburgh. Plattsburgh, New York. And we went to, I remember one day, because my brother doesn't like heights, I said, I want to see Ausable Chasm in Vermont. And he said, well, you really want to go there? It's like, you got to cross these high bridges. And it's like, yeah, it's cool. I want to see it. It was just so much fun. But that was good. That was the fun times where everything was simple. You know, everything was very simple. And we just, oh, absolutely, Eric. Actually, it was a subject in conversation. I remember when I was in the 80s, when I was a teenager, one of the things they were talking, because the stores in Montreal were complaining that the dollar raised at a certain level at one point, and Canadians, a lot of Quebecers would go to Plattsburgh, New York, to actually shop and come back because things were less expensive. So it's like, whoa, it's just crazy. And it was actually a news item in the 80s. Stores in Montreal were going crazy because people would go across the border to shop instead of buying stuff here in Montreal because they said, well, it's less expensive over there. So there's a lot of border crossing. And you know what? There was a place we went to, Eric. We went to, I remember going to, oh man, what was that place? It was, I don't remember the name. Anyways, we go down to that place once, and, I kind of found it really cool, and it was really, really nice. And 2 years after, I'm thinking, oh, I want to go back. But the Canadian dollar went down a lot. So going back was really, really, really more expensive suddenly. And that place lived on the fact that Quebecers would go down there. And it lived so much on our money that they were saying, hey, any Quebec people that come to our place, the Canadian dollar will be at par with the US currency, because they knew that it was simply, we were the ones spending over there. We were the ones going over there. So they would actually put the Canadian dollar at par, even though the Canadian dollar was worth at some point 72 cents for a US. It was like crazy, Oh, man. Messina, yeah. Plattsburgh, Messina. Popular, absolutely. Absolutely, Jericho. Very, very popular. I guess all of that changed when we needed, when everything changed and we needed passports and things became complicated. I think that changed probably a lot for the people across the border, the Canadians going shopping there. Kimberly says, we had a Radio Shack in the city next door to mine, and they had a vertical antenna on the roof. That antenna is still up, even though it is different business. Oh, that's interesting. They didn't take down the antenna. Too complicated. Who cares? Who cares? Elizabeth says, we also need a passport now to cross over into Canada from Alaska. It's a bummer. We like the Canadian Tylenol. It is a bummer that we need it, that it's so complicated suddenly too, because it was just so easy before. Erica Chal, report from a friend 4065-2312. Partial India Radio special broadcast. Young lady ID, General Undersea Service. General Undersea Service of Partial India Radio. Good signal here in North Chelmsford, Massachusetts. That is interesting. So I hear 4065. It's moving my needle of the S meter to about S7, around S7 when they talk. So I'm hearing that partial India broadcast for sure. Hey, one last little moment here of the if anybody loves what I do, paypal.me/shortwave for a little donation. Helps me continue what I do. And you know what's cool here? What I like about this show is the fact that not only do we dabble into shortwave and everything, but it's cool to talk about everything else. It's like a big family here. I mean, just look at how we can easily talk about different subjects, or go into personal matters of one of us. It's like we've not just a chat room and people that are into a show. We're kind of friends suddenly, and we support each other, and we love the same thing, the same hobby. It's kind of cool. So anyways, paypal.me/shortwave, or the Yahoo email you see here. Patreon.com/radio and computers. If you can spare a few pennies to help out and maintain this show, that it will go through 2019. I started doing YouTube stuff in 2012. Real seriously, 2012. And we're in 2019 in a little more than a week's time. And I got to say one thing. If you would have asked me 2012, will you be here in 2019 doing YouTube stuff, talking about shortwave, doing live shows? Well, actually in 2012, live shows were far from what I thought I would do on YouTube. I never thought I would do a live show on the internet anyway at that moment. And it's just crazy because you kind of see that, the evolution of all of this, and I never thought I'd be here. YouTube started in 2008, Eric. 2008. My first YouTube channel I opened was 2009. So YouTube existed in 2000. It opened in 2008. First channels appeared in 2008. 10 years ago. They actually celebrated 10 years in September, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I had put a few videos on, but I started taking YouTube seriously in 2012 when they told me monetization existed, because I thought, is there a way for me to do something online with what I love and maybe do a living off of it? Or I wondered. And I was far from thinking that in 2012 that I would be like I am today, that I could actually make a living, even though I'm not I'm not rich or anything. I especially didn't think I would have live shows. I mean, really zero live shows. I can tell you that. So it's really nuts when you think about all the time spent and what everything changed. Merry Christmas, Kimberly. Really, really nice to have you here. And thanks for sharing that with us, that little moment you have. It's nice to have you here, for sure. Danny, Shortwave Radio DX. I love that DX100. I picked one up from eBay for a month for $50 in almost mint condition. I need to make a video reception with that. Absolutely. You need to. That little, it's working right now. Look at that.
Y la conducción del periodista vuelca. La serie Leyendas del Exilio se trata de un recuento histórico cuyo objetivo es mostrar la saga de los luchadores anticatristas dentro.
Radio Martin 9565 coming in really well. Hey Matt, take care, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Festivus. I'm having all my friends and family over on Monday, 24th for Christmas Eve. Take care, Matt. We'll be back next week. Tomorrow's no show, by the way, for those that are asking. Jerry Case's YouTube was activated February 14, 2005. Crazy, eh? Time flies. It's just nuts. Just nuts. Thanks, Kimberly. Mark Cobb, Dominica or Honduras on 5010. Be careful, because 5010 is often, and I'm hearing it right now, it's Radio Exterior. It's 5010 is WRMI, Mark Cobb. They have, I believe at this time, it's Radio Argentina al Exterior in Spanish on 5010. So don't be fooled by WRMI Spanish broadcast on 5010. Yes, Kimberly, I've been listening. Last night, actually, I was, propagation wasn't that great, and I actually started tuning 5085 and listening to the Christmas music on there. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on 5085 right now. I think it's, yeah, 5085, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer right now. I think I'll listen to that tonight. Tune around a little bit, but listen to some Christmas music. 5085. So, hey everybody. It's been 3 hours and 41 minutes now. I hope you enjoyed today's show. It was really a lot of fun to do. I'm going to take it easy for the rest of the night. The guy here has been talking for 3 hours and 40 minutes, and starting to take a toll. I'm starting to get a little tired here. I love you all. It's an amazing experience to be here. An amazing experience to have all of you around, from around the world, from Japan, from everywhere. It's just crazy. Crazy. And I want to thank you all for being here, being great fans. Oh, Kimberly says call WTWW left at Christmas. Oh yeah, I forgot to call last time. It's just crazy. Forgot to call last time. I wanted to do so, and it totally came out of my mind. So take care, everybody. Thanks for the show. It's always nice to have you here. Tomorrow, no shows. The next show is Friday, December the 28th, 2000 hours UTC. And we will have a UHF show on Saturday, December the 29th at 2000 hours UTC. Take care. I will, Kimberly. You know what? I'm going to just take it down here on my phone. I'll take a note here, and I will. I will, for sure. I will for sure. I need to call. I need to call him. That's for sure. So take care, everybody. Merry Christmas. Enjoy that special moment with friends and family. And take care, my friends. Love you all. And so much fun to have all of you here from all around the world. If, you know, it's kind of a Christmas gift for me that all of this is happening. Take care, everybody. Love you. Stay safe. And